I'm TK, your guide to the past as we uncover the people, events, and little-known facts hidden in the shadows of your old history textbooks. From Empress baddies to activist profiles, turkey gods and the history of the toothbrush, tattoos, Pompeii peepees, and everything in between, you can find it all here. There's no telling how far we'll dig or how many historical facts we'll re-examine. No event is too small and no topic is too big, because this is for the love of history.
It's time to learn with the History Boiz! Yeah!
Hey everybody, we are the History Boys. Thank you again for listening. I am Christopher Whedon, and I am building a mobile death ray out of my garage. And I probably shouldn't have said that out loud until my schemes have been finalized.
Come to fruition?
Fruition, yeah. Get the government to do what I want.
I'm Tyler Armitrout. I am a history boy, and I have built the finalized button for schemes, and I'm keeping it from Chris so he never finishes his death ray.
Yeah. I'm like, how am I going to make it work without the button? How's it going to start?
It's true. I just keep on telling him, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll bring that finalized button over to your house. And I'm like, oh dude, I forgot. I'll just do it next time.
Yeah. I don't know how to make buttons. I made a full death ray.
Just no buttons.
Attached it to the roof of my car. But, can't start it.
I am Zach Meck, also known as the fine china in this bull shop.
Oh, yeah.
Because I am dainty and delicate, and I only get used probably once every 5 years.
And it's Christmas when the family comes over.
Exactly.
Yeah. The family's not over. It's
paper
hamburger
plates.
helper and paper plates.
Goddamn right. And I'm a history boy.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I am Jerry Nash, your humble history boy. Thank you so much for listening. Today, we have a story that the last two stories have really been leading to.
It's all been leading up to this, folks.
Yep.
Yes. I'm very excited about this episode. Anyone that knows the history of the Klondike Gold Rush has already realized that we've left out somebody that is probably the most infamous character.
Was it the Yeti?
Yeah.
No.
That's
The
the
most
Himalayas.
infamous-
You mean Bigfoot.
Yeah. The most infamous character of the Klondike Gold Rush. And that person
Chupacabra.
is...
That's Puerto Rico.
Fuck.
No, of course we are talking about Jefferson Randolph Smith, a.k.a. Soapy Smith,
Right.
a.k.a. the Uncrowned King of Skagway.
Oh.
Now,
AKA the Wrath of God.
so before we get ripping into it, I have to ask, was he the unnamed king of Skagway because he just hoarded all of the soap? And that's how he got his nickname?
No. We'll get into how he got his nickname. Newspapers called him the Uncrowned King of Skagway, and we're going to talk about that too. Much of what is known about Soapy is legend, and we'll get into a little bit into why we think of him in the way we do today.
Sounds like a real slippery character.
I
He was!
feel like if newspapers were like the way they're describing the Uncrowned King of Skagway, I would buy those newspapers.
Right, yeah.
It's like
They
fucking
did 2 sell newspapers.
It's like written by J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, that Soupy Sales is a menace.
I want pictures of Soupy Sales.
I didn't even say that on purpose. It just came out Soupy Sales.
Soupy Sales.
Folks, we're going to be calling him Soupy Sales on accident more times than we'd...
Most of the times it was on purpose up till now.
By the way, has anyone seen And God Spoke, the mockumentary?
Of course not.
I want to recommend this movie. It's a mockumentary about these guys that are making a movie about the Bible. They're turning the Bible into a movie, and it is so funny. Again, it's a mockumentary. There's some people that you'll recognize, some people that play themselves, like Lou Ferrigno and Andy Dick or Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
I love that already.
But they're trying to get like a big name for Moses, and they're like talking to their casting director, and she's like, "You're not getting Brando," and they're like, "What?" They're like, you're not like you're an indie movie. You're not going to get Brando. And they're like, what about De Niro? And like, they keep throwing out like these A-listers. She's like, no one wants to be in this. They're like, all right, well, who do we have? And she goes, Soapy Sales. And no shit, Soapy Sales is in that movie playing himself, playing Moses.
Soapy Smith, King of Skagway.
Soapy Smith.
Soapy Sales, yeah. There's a point in it where he's holding the 10 Commandments, and they did a product placement deal, so he's also holding a 6-pack of Coke. But he's holding it, and they're like, yes, very holy, Soapy, very holy. Action.
When did this come out?
90s,
Okay.
like early to mid 90s.
There's no way Soapy Sales is still alive.
Is he still alive?
And Soapy Smith is definitely dead.
Yes.
They're both dead.
I don't know if
I got the coroner's
Soapy.
report in my hand.
Yeah. Anyway, And God Spoke. It's a fantastic movie, especially if you've ever been on a film set. All of the different personalities are represented.
What was
and
that
it's
other
fucking
like
hilarious.
Steve Buscemi movie?
Oh, Living in Oblivion.
Yeah.
That movie is also great if you've ever worked on a film set.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, we're talking about Soapy Smith. Soapy
Soapy.
Smith. You fucking assholes have already tripped me up.
Got him.
I said it on accident too.
Chris started it.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
first mention of Soapy Sales
Yeah. Okay.
in this entire podcast was an accident by me.
I was trying to get Soapy Sales out of the way.
Soapy Smith.
Soapy Smith. Anyway, Soapy was a con man, a gambler, a sure thing man, and the head of a powerful gang of cheats, thieves, pickpockets, thimble riggers, card sharks, grifters, and bruisers.
What's a thimble rigger?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you here in a bit.
This sounds like my favorite group of people ever.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude. Oh, these guys, yeah.
Like
you'll see.
old-timey grifters and
Oh, they all have great
muscle
names.
and...
They have great names, too.
They're like, just keep the entertainer playing on loop because we got some stuff coming at you.
Yeah. You know, the guy in the bar.
And they're just grifting and stealing all your shit.
Yeah. He paid off politicians and lawmen. He operated in broad daylight and created a criminal empire in Colorado before going north to Skagway, Alaska during the Klondike Gold Rush. And as I kind of said before, a lot of what we know about Soapy has become legend and myth. It reinforces this myth of the Wild West.
So
you know what I mean?
maybe somewhat embellished, somewhat judged
Yes,
in
and
his favor.
Well, not really in his favor, but it to tell a good story of like redemption of the Wild West. That's what the story of Soapy has always sort of really been. And when we get to certain areas, I'm gonna tell you where. All right, there's a few different stories that go with this.
Well, this is pretty far into the West if we're doing the Klondike.
Yeah.
I would say it's the Wiki Wild
Well,
West.
The wild wiki
Jim West.
Yeah.
Northwest.
Desperado.
Well,
Rough Rider.
well,
No tomorrow.
well, at the time of the late 1800s, early 1900s, the West had been tamed. You know, the Wild West was pretty much over. It was coming to a fast end, you know. So the only real, frontier was
the Northwest.
Alaska. Yeah, yeah, and the gold rush. It came with that, and it sort of died with that, too.
All the gassy dudes who like to eat beans out of a can, they had to go up there.
Yeah,
Because
so they could fart.
so they could fart and not get judged.
Technically, Skagway is
You'd be right
further
at home.
west than any part of the continental United States.
It is true, yeah. So Jefferson Randolph Smith II was born on November 2nd, 1860, in Coweta County, Georgia.
They're going to say Kuwait.
No, Coweta County. I believe it's Coweta County,
That would have been weird.
Georgia. His family was rich and extremely influential. His father was an attorney. His grandfather was a plantation owner
Of course it was.
Of course.
and a Georgia legislator. So, especially back in those days, this is just before the war.
He owned human beings.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And you know that being a Georgia legislator, he was somebody who voted for secession, like all that stuff. Mm-hmm. After the war, his family was financially devastated by the war because,
Fuck 'em.
Yeah, seriously.
They're like, we don't have
Fuck 'em.
free labor anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
They didn't have any
What
money.
about small businesses? Come on, man.
I thought we were genius business owners, and now that we don't get free labor, we're not. Our margins are razor thin.
Yeah. Not a lot of innovators. No, I'm. Anyway. So they moved west to Texas. Jeff's family did. There's a story, and again, everything we know about Soapy, sometimes these stories, you never really know exactly what's true, but it's a story. So there's a story that when Soapy was a child, he witnessed the Texas Rangers shoot and kill the infamous train robber, Sam Bass. And, like, there's this whole thing, like, Sam Bass came out, like, the Rangers were there, and he's like, I'm here, like they had a shootout or whatever, and they shot him. Jeff Smith was there with his cousin, like, watching the whole thing, and he waved to the Texas Ranger, and he said, I think you got him. Like, with a smile,
Yeah.
I mean, there was no TV, so, like, naturally...
Watch
like-
somebody get murdered.
Yeah.
Well,
shot
no,
and
it's
killed.
like literally watching Bonanza back then. You're watching Rawhide or Bonanza or,
But
whatever.
this is watching somebody actually die.
Well, life was cheaper back then.
I've seen
It's weird that if you go back farther and there's less people, life seems to be cheaper.
Didn't they all used to, like, when somebody was, like, hanged or, like, their head cut
Oh,
off?
people showed up
it was
for
in the,
that.
in the towns. It was
yeah.
like a blockbuster.
Oh, yeah. People
yeah.
sold tickets. Yeah. Now, most of Jeff's family went on to have long and respectable careers in law, politics, and things like that. But Jeff was different. And, I mean, he had a respectable, what you would call a respectable career, meaning one that was not one of crime. But he hated cowpunching so much that he quit in the middle of a drive.
He was a cow puncher.
Yes, do you know what cowpunching is?
It's when you walk up to a cow and you punch them right in the fucking face. The things they said for perceived indiscretions, I'd imagine, because they don't speak English.
Perceived transgression.
You take all the things you feel that the world
You project them onto a cow.
Yeah, project them onto a cow and you just unleash it.
As we
and somehow
all know, cows only speak Mandarin. And
Yeah.
he didn't speak Mandarin.
Yeah. No, cowpunching is he was a cowboy. He was driving cattle, basically.
Right.
So that's just a colloquialism of the time. You're cowpunching,
you're cow
you're driving cattle.
It's more like suggesting the cows go this way, but that doesn't sound very sexy, so you're a cow puncher.
Well, it's
Cow
it's a cool
suggesting.
it's a cool way to say I have one of the most common jobs of the era.
It's
It's like
Sure.
burger flipper.
yeah, it's like taking
Fry
the,
cook? Excuse me.
it's taking the most extreme responsibility with your job and making it your whole job in the title.
Yeah.
It's like you're not a cop, you kill black people.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a real statement of our times.
Yeah. Jeff was, just to kind of give you a description of what this guy looked like, he was 5'8", which was normal for the time. And
I'm taller than that.
140 pounds.
Okay.
I'm way
All right.
heavier than that.
He's already looking like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had a coal black beard to hide his youth.
Oh, hi.
Grew to
Yeah,
hide his
what's
youth.
up?
He looked a lot like Zach in a lot of ways, honestly. He was kind of a dark, handsome... a lot
Oh,
of
you
people
do
said he
go
was-
on.
Yeah. Dark, handsome kind of guy that was sort of, skinny and...
We're gonna need to
Whatnot.
change your face on the logo.
And he
So,
yeah.
am I the prettiest history boy now?
I think
That
you are.
you have
always
think
been.
might be true.
But I've always been the ugliest, and I hold that.
That's
that
only
with
because you
pride.
really lean into it,
I'm
Chris.
working
You
on
want-
it, man.
Chris wants that type.
That's why I've been growing my facial hair like this.
Cover up that pretty face of yours.
Yeah, I was too beautiful for this world.
Yeah. Got sick of everyone jerking off when they saw you.
Just pulling that.
I'm gonna spit my beer out. It's like, again.
Guys, stop it.
You know how many puds I saw on my way here today?
I am but a man. Put away your penises, please.
Put away your puds, for I am but a man.
And if any of you ladies want to jump in their plate, no? Okay,
No,
well,
That's
no.
never happened.
I guess it's just the dudes.
Just the dudes.
It's only dudes with their gross ass flaccid puds just tugging on him in public in front of me. This happens every day of my life.
Come on!
Come on, get a horse,
There's people watching, man!
They're begging their...
It really doesn't help though that Mata Hopple's All the Young Dudes is playing in the background everywhere you walk into. You know?
Yeah, that is weird.
That would get tiring.
Yeah,
I like that
that's
song.
actually the
That'd
worst
be
part.
Okay.
All right.
Handsome dude looks kind of like Zach. I get it.
Oh, that's what we're...
He didn't have the long hair. So
Cut
he
your
didn't
hair.
have. He did wear all black and a black hat, like a black flat brim hat.
I wanna
Okay,
po-
you're just
By
describing
the way,
me right now.
I want to point out 3 out of 4 of us wearing all black right
It's
now.
true. Back then, all black meant virtuousness, almost like a priest.
That's why I wear all black.
Yeah.
So
It
for
didn't
the
mean-
children, come unto me.
It didn't mean, I don't know, whatever it's come to mean.
I wear
Being
mostly
badass.
gray because it's kind of like wearing off-white on your wedding day, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm like kind of virtuous.
I like gray too. I'm specifically charcoal.
Charcoalman. Sorry.
I fancy myself a charcoalman.
Yeah. Jeff realized at an early age that people just trusted him. He had this demeanor where people just took to him easily. He spoke well, he spoke intelligently, and they just naturally trusted him. And he knew that he could take advantage of people as long as he was naturally this way.
Yeah.
He could naturally speak intelligently about nearly anything or make it seem like he did. People would just buy it, you know?
It's such a way to go that you could be like, well, people just trust me. I should be like, I don't know, in a position where I can help people, or people just trust me. I should fuck all these people.
Yeah, I should take advantage of them. Yeah.
I should ruin their lives in every way possible and take everything I can from them.
Yeah. The story goes, is when he left that drive, he wandered on his horse until he heard the faint sound of a calliope in the distance.
Been there.
Yeah.
And he was like, "What's that?" And he goes and he goes and goes and he finds a traveling circus.
Mhm.
And now the events in a lot of these stories about Soapy Smith can sometimes get jumbled up.
Yeah,
so
dude,
I'm gonna
This is like Big Fish.
yeah, it is. It is. It really is.
Great way of putting it.
So there's a couple of different ways it could have gone, and I've heard it in every single way that it can be heard.
Do
Anyway,
any of these versions include a giant man?
sort of.
Yes.
Okay, you'll see. Okay, so he found the circus, right? And that is true. He did find a circus. But whether or not this first thing either happened at all, or whether or not it happened first or happened after, whatever. He met a huckster. And the huckster scammed him out of like $50.
Nice.
Now, Jeff wasn't mad about it. Instead, he was like, wait a minute. You can just do that?
This is a teaching
Like I'm out
moment.
here, I'm out here driving cattle in the fucking sun in Kansas, and you can just scam people. And he's like, "This is fucking dope. Maybe I'm just gonna scam people."
Being a grifter back then was romantic.
Yeah.
If they caught you, yeah, you get caught, but I feel like there's a certain amount of respect that's had.
You know who I would have him play him?
Afterwards,
Matt Berry.
Oh, yeah. I was
Yep.
going to say Ewan McGregor, but that's better.
I do like a Matt Berry Soapy Smith.
Yeah.
I do.
That was really good.
Yeah,
But with this full British
Yeah.
accent.
yeah. He looks nothing like Soapy.
I
but
hail from Georgia.
Georgia. Yeah. Yeah. I was the most handsome man.
I was the most handsome man in all of Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia.
All of us talk this way. Oh, what is it? Tucson, Arizona.
Arizona, California. Yeah.
Henry VIII.
Yeah. He wasn't mad about it, and when he went to the circus, he started making friends with the circus people. You know, he wasn't there to have fun. He was there to I want to get in with these guys. So he became friends with a thimble rigger named Clubfoot Hall.
God, I love these people.
All right.
Now, Clubfoot Hall got that name because
He got clubfoot and Hall?
he had a club foot, and that was his last name.
I thought he was a super sick DJ back in those days. Clubfoot, you know?
Well, he was messing up the mix with his clubfoot on the turntables. Just getting
He's
that-
like, "Oh, this is clumsy."
yeah, this
This is a
Honestly,
clumsy
you probably
foot.
could have gotten into music if you had ever met Clubfoot Oates.
That was a good one, Chris. That fucking came out of nowhere. I feel like I didn't fully appreciate that joke until the time had actually
You're
passed.
like, where is he going with this?
Oh, okay, yeah. Now a thimble rig. Any guesses as to what thimble rig is?
It's a rigging of a
game.
card game.
It's a game.
Is it the...
It's a
Yes, it is.
I'm doing a gesture. You can't see it.
It's the cup game?
Yeah.
for the
The cup
folks
game
at home.
with a ball.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
back
I'm
in
doing
the
a
day,
gesture. You can't see
It's
it
like
in the
3-card
podcast.
Monty kind of.
3-card Monty is the card variation of thimble rig. Thimble rig, you have a thimble, you have 3 thimbles, and you have a pea or a kernel
So it's
of
little.
corn.
It's a little version.
It's a little version. And you have,
Easier to hide the pee.
Yeah.
I'm doing gestures this whole time.
Yeah. You mix it
Audience
around.
at home, imagine
So-
I have cups in my hands and I'm moving
There's
them around.
3 of
The
them.
3 cups, you know what? You all know what I'm talking about.
Well,
3
you
cups
put a
is
ball underneath it, yeah.
You're moving them around.
Well,
doing that gesture with my
in the old
hands. I've
days-
been doing it for 10 minutes now.
In the old days, it was thimbles, and it was either a pea or a kernel of corn.
Well, this is because tables were a lot smaller because of the
People
depression.
were smaller back then.
People were small.
People were smaller. Tables were smaller.
You could drink out of a thimble back then.
I mean, Soapy Smith was the tallest man at that point in time.
Yeah.
at
No,
5 foot
no,
eight.
He was the
Yeah.
giant you were talking about.
Yeah.
But by this time, it had become the shell game. Because you would take walnut shells and hide a pea or a kernel
They
of
just
corn
keep getting
underneath.
bigger and bigger over time.
Yeah.
Eventually, we're going to have like...
It's 3 big gulp cups.
Yeah,
upside
yeah,
down.
Right.
that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Tennis balls in
Yeah,
them.
so that's what 32, 64.
If I could get some sort of
another
cup
32,
that a
you get
volleyball
it.
could fit in,
Yeah.
then I'd be
You
really
get a
good.
5-gallon buckets and volleyballs.
And I got big old hands.
Yeah. Clubfoot Hall, he taught Soapy how to, and he's not referred to Soapy at this point, I just keep calling him that, but he taught Jeff how, the sleight of hand on how to hide the kernel of corn or the pea or the ball or whatever it was, and place it wherever you wanted during the course of one of these games.
I want to point out one thing that we should have just considered before recording this episode. So, him growing into Soapy Smith would have been a good move because once you say Soapy Smith, then you say he's Jeff.
Yeah.
Right.
It's there's a gulf between Soapy Smith and Jeff that
Yeah.
I can't mentally fill that void with.
Well,
So
we will
what-
here
what-
soon.
what
We
I've
will
been
here
doing,
soon.
Another What We Do in the Shadows reference.
Jeff.
Jeff.
What does she say? It's like your mouth.
Isn't that guy's name?
Yeah,
Jeff
yeah.
Suckler?
She's like a
And she's like, Suckler? She makes this face,
Right.
Suckler.
Jeff.
Jeff,
Yeah.
it's like a not very good orgasm. Just
Well, she does this. She does this like disgusting.
Sorry,
look.
Jeff's at home.
It's like a failed orgasm. Jeff.
how I've been connecting Soapy Smith and
Jeff Smith, Soapy Smith.
Jeff Daniels as Soapy Smith.
Oh.
He has
Here we
too
go.
light a hair.
I know he's got too
He's a
light of hair,
blonde
But he's got
But-
a wig in this scenario.
but he's got a wig. It's a
Got a
very
black
bad
ass
wig. But
I see.
It's like Danny DeVito's wig, but
Oh,
he
yeah.
wears it in Always
It's always
Sunny.
yeah,
Sunny.
it's Sunny.
To really make this scam work, because just to play the game, you know something's fishy going on. But in order to make it work, you'd have a shill. And that's just somebody that's on your side, on your team.
Is that where the word shill comes from?
Yeah. A shill is somebody that's on your team that's posing as a normal person.
makes sense.
They go, I can't
Yeah.
stop winning.
Yeah, exactly. And they keep choosing right.
A
And they're
regular
like,
Clinton.
I've doubled my money. You know, like things like that. So, like, other people are like, what?
He doubled his money.
And then you have other shills that have been watching, and they're like, get in here. You gotta start betting. You're gonna double your money, too. And they're like, well, I better start, And anyone who's actually legitimately playing the game is called a mark. Yeah. So,
One born every minute.
yeah.
I love the world of grifting so much.
Yeah.
I know. Old timey grifting is just.
There's something
There's
that's
so much
just,
in it.
It's
There's-
yeah.
Dude, there's so much more to come. This is how he learned how to become a grifter.
It's amusing.
I want
and
to watch this
comedic
movie.
Oh, yeah.
by nature of its existence.
Yeah. Smith moved around a lot, and he would sell cheap jewelry. He dealt 3-card Monty, and, he cheated people at the shell game, too. But it would never last long, because you'd run out of marks, So you gotta move on, otherwise people start getting wise.
Yeah.
Of course.
You know, and he'd been run out of town a couple of times.
On a rail?
I mean,
Not on a rail, but he had to run away in a hurry.
If it was on a rail, Jerry would let us know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The first time I find somebody who actually was run out on a rail,
You're gonna
I
be
will
so
let you
excited.
know. I will, yeah.
I only know it from Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
Yeah.
I mean, the phrase, but it happens in Oh Brother.
It actually happens legitimately in Oh Brother Where Art Thou. This is where Jeff became a confidence man.
Ah.
Because a confidence man takes the marks into their confidence, right? They have confidence in him and trust him, right? So confidence man is usually shortened to
Con man.
con man, exactly. And sure thing man just means the same thing as a confidence man. A sure thing man just means somebody who's not going to bet on anything unless it's a sure thing that they're not going to lose.
all right.
So it's a con man,
Yeah.
but sure thing man. It was a popular colloquialism of the time.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I can get behind it. Now I just want to watch The Great Pretender
Yeah.
On Netflix.
on Netflix.
Yes.
I tried watching it and there were subtitles and I threw my TV out the window.
You know, in Snatch and,
Yeah.
and like those
Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie
Guy Ritchie
films,
films.
like they're doing 3-card Monty. Like that kind of stuff still exists. Never play those, guys.
Yeah, why would anybody?
Yeah, seriously, you're a real sucker if
Have
you
you
play
ever
those.
seen it portrayed in media where it's like on the up and up?
They're wrong.
Yeah.
They're wrong.
It's
The
never
only-
happened. That.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always a scam.
Notice that they always play it on the ground too, and you're always standing up.
Yeah.
You know, you can hide a lot of stuff if you're down below.
There's
Jerry, but you need to understand, I know a guy, and we could easily
he's on
triple
the up
our
and
money.
up. Yeah.
Like,
You're a shill. Yeah.
I'm sure
If
there's
anyone ever tells you that no, this is not the case, they're a shill. They're working for somebody else.
there's one guy in like Denver, Colorado. His name's Dale Jones, and he's like, I run the world's only honest game of 3-card Monty. I haven't won any money yet. But, folks,
I'm broke.
yeah. My wife wants me to stop, but I know the illegal ways to play the game. I don't prefer them. I play it a solid way.
I'm an honest
Yeah.
businessman.
Apparently, my hands just aren't quite quick enough yet. I hope to get there someday. I'm getting older by the minute.
He spent his entire retirement trying to learn how to play this.
Getting older by the minute.
Jesus
It's like
Christ.
this old. It's like very frail. Trying to move these cards around.
But it was his most famous scheme, however, that granted Jeff his famous moniker. The scheme was the prize soap scheme.
Oh, he's gonna steal that soap.
Jeff would go to a town and he would set up his tripe and keister. Do you guys know what a tripe and keister is?
I mean, I've had tripe and it's delicious, but
So y'all
And I
know.
met John Keister.
Intestines and butt.
No, but yeah, but no, okay. So you've all seen the movies of the Old West where you got a guy and he has a wagon and he unbuckles some things and he pulls it out and it folds out to be like this like stand stage thing.
Yes, yeah.
sure, yeah.
And he's like, step right up, step right up. That is a tripe and keister. And that is what Soapy is doing.
I like
Okay.
it.
Or Jeff, I guess, at this
You
point.
go there, you upgrade all
Jeff.
your guns so you can fight zombies
Yeah.
better.
I gotta get to the point where we don't call him Jeff anymore. Otherwise, I'm gonna puke.
We're getting there. So he would open up his tripe and keister and he would have all these bars of soap, bunch of bars of soap in wrappers. And he would step right up, and he would sell the audience first on just the quality of the soap. This soap is the best soap. You know what I mean? Donald Trump style. It's the best. You won't believe it. Believe me, I know.
it's been made from the fattest man's.
And anyone,
It's like Fight Club.
Yeah, exactly.
and any motherfucker that says it's the best, believe me, I know. They're just trying to sell you something in any.
Like, it's been
in
well
any shape-
documented.
Yeah,
I
in
have
any
very
shape,
big hands.
any shape or fashion. Somebody who says, "Believe me, I know," and all that stuff, trying to sell you something. You know what I mean? They are not to be trusted. Anyone that speaks that way. Anyway, so he's selling these bars of soap, and he sweetens the deal. And what he does is he tells the audience, I'm going to put $100 bills and $50 bills in random bars of soap that I have.
Nice.
And to sweeten it further, he'd be like, is there anyone out here that is down on their luck? and needs money. And somebody would shuffle forward, usually a shill, but sometimes not, because sometimes it was the cost of running your business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course,
So
yeah.
sometimes somebody would shuffle forward, and he would hand him a $20 bill. Back then, a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
$100, $50, $20. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So he would do it just to okay, this guy's serious, right? He's actually giving money away. And he goes, now, I have a dilemma, ladies and gentlemen. I can't just, give these to you. So in order to be fair, let's auction them off. So he auctioned off these bars of soap, which in reality are probably worth about 5 cents.
Yeah.
Right.
But he was auctioning them off for, they would go for $40, $10, like incredible.
And that's their time.
Yes, incredibly inflated prices. And of course, the people that, it would get all the way up to like 40 or $50, the person who won would be a shill.
Yeah.
And they'd, I won. And he'd come up there and he'd get the bar of soap, he'd unwrap it, and he had the $100 bill in there. See, ladies and gentlemen, it's that easy. Now he has a bunch of money. And now a good bar of soap as well. And as, like, the bars of soap dwindled and the bills had not been found yet, the price started to skyrocket, right?
Because they want to
Of
be
course.
the last one to
Well,
get one of them
exactly.
them bills.
It's a regular Dogecoin crypto
Yeah.
situation.
And he would put like $1 bills and $5 bills in some of them as a cost of doing business, so randos could find those,
Okay.
and be like, see, he's not lying, I got it,
He's a genius.
So check this out. When I was in the 5th grade, I tried this scheme one time. Inadvertently, I did not know this story.
Soapy Nash.
Yeah, I tried this story. So it was in 5th grade, we had career day.
Cool.
And you were supposed to, in our class, we had entrepreneurs. You were supposed to be an entrepreneur. So me and my buddy, Logan Salotki, hope he's listening, I had this idea. I was like, okay, we're going to have Rice Krispie treats, and we're going to sell them for $0.25. It's 5th grade.
Sure.
$0.25. In a couple of them, there's going to be 50 cents. And it was like, okay, so you try to buy them, try to get the 50
Might get one
cents.
for free.
It was a scam,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
It was a scam. Logan, of course, let somebody look at all of them, and that person actually got the money. And I was like, I remember being so mad. I was like, that's not how a scam works.
God damn it.
Logan, we're trying to teach kids about capitalism right now.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
fucked it all up.
Yeah, gimmicks and scams,
There you
man.
have it, folks. At some point in time, this podcast is going to become a scam. Jerry's going to be the architect of it, and we're all the shills. Zach and Chris and myself are the shills.
By the way,
And on that point, you go to patreon.com/HistoryBoiz podcast. You can sign up for our Discord for as cheap as $1.
by the way, I just want to say, in this time, $40 would have been about $1,000.
Yeah.
Jesus,
And
fuck.
$100
for
would be
a bar
about
of soap.
Yeah.
$100 would be about $2,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, $2,500.
Yeah. So they're not losing any money, by the way.
Yeah.
Like those 50s and 100s,
But giving somebody
They're on
$20,
shills.
that's $500.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
That's great.
crazy.
But he'd end up making all of it back tenfold by auctioning off
That's how
the
you do
bars
it.
of soap.
Spend money to make money.
Yep.
Yeah, and so as people are starting to catch on, they'd be like, "Hey, this is a gaff. This is a rigged game." He'd be like, he would act indignant, and he'd be like, "Well, I guess no one here wants any of my soap," and he'd pack up his tripe and keister and get the fuck out of there. Because it was a scam,
Sure, it's like he absolutely knew what the fuck was going on. It's
People
like,
who bought it
time
still-
to go.
But there's still those people like, oh man, you run him off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're running off. This guy's going to give us all this money. And then meanwhile, it's like you show up and then people just start yelling dirty pool at you.
These are
Dirty pool shenanigans. Everyone starts getting out broomsticks.
Well, and if they do
Sick of it, man.
if they do get their torches and pitchforks out, if they do get real mad, his shills would be like muscle men
oh,
to
Nice.
protect him. He learned
Why is
that
it the guys
from
always
Clubfoot
win are
Hall.
jacked?
Yeah. Why is it Channing Tatum that always wins?
yeah. Some dude with a
Hey,
handle
Tiny, I need your back.
Yeah.
lifting those old timey barbells that are round. They got handlebar mustaches
Yeah.
and onesies.
Oh, the total pugilist?
Off
Yeah.
of one
Pugilists?
Pugilists?
Pugilists.
Pugilist.
off of the one
Pugilist.
shoulder
I don't
thing.
care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up.
Steak and eggs.
Yeah.
Steak and eggs. Do you like my giant tricycle?
Now, legend has it, there's no proof of this, but it's the story, is that he was arrested for the soap scam, and the officer, when he was booking him, forgot his first name. So when he was booking him, he just wrote down Soapy Smith. Jeff didn't really like the moniker, but it stuck. It totally stuck, so whatever.
Pro doesn't help his soap scam.
Yeah.
If his name's Soapy.
Right?
Or maybe they're just like, this guy loves selling soap so much.
Well, it sounds like if his name is Soapy, the fact that it's stuck
He didn't call himself
isn't as
Soapy.
bad as it would be if it stunk.
Yeah. He didn't call himself Soapy. But he would tell people, oh, you lost, sorry, you didn't get the bar of soap with 100 in it. At least you have a good bar of soap.
Yeah.
Were the bars
I mean,
of
at
soap
least
good?
that.
Were they at least good?
I guess so. I mean, it was soap.
I mean,
you know.
how bad could soap be?
Yeah.
They made it from liposuction fat.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
It was
That
probably
hit-
just,
that-
it was just run-of-the-mill soap.
That him
back in
and
the day.
Tyler Durden stole.
Yeah, right.
Turns out they were the same person.
Yeah, it turns out Soapy Smith and Jeff are the same person.
That's good.
Something I kind of forgot to mention is kind of before the soap scheme, he was just kind of wandering around selling cheap jewelry and like trinkets and stuff.
Been like, this is worth a ton.
Yeah. He would convince people it's worth more than it is.
Well, I'm sure there's people who are like, costume jewelry.
Yeah.
This will be great for all my disguises.
It's like when I was selling those candy diamond rings with the big
Oh, yeah.
old, what do you call them? Like suck 'em fucking rings.
Oh,
dude,
ring
I
pops.
have a story for you.
Ring
So,
pops.
I'm not going to mention any names.
Off the air, you can.
This is really funny because my parents do listen to our show.
Yeah.
I don't think that my parents will have any issue with me sharing this story, but there was this friend that my parents had back in the day, and he told them, he sat him down, and he goes, "You guys, I really care about you guys. You've meant a lot to me, and I want to get you in on this investment." And he's
Ground
like,
floor.
and he goes, I've come into an assortment of jewels. I'm not kidding. An assortment of jewels, and he goes, it's worth a lot of money, and he shows them, and they are plastic beads. And my dad straight up, in the middle of what he's saying, he goes, "Dude, this is a plastic bead. I can see the hole through it." and all this guy did is he just shrugged.
So was he was trying to rip them off?
He was.
How fucking stupid.
He was a meth head. He was a meth head.
Yes.
Yeah. Without the meth, the guy is a decent dude.
He's
but
a lot of meth heads.
Yeah, that's
I mean, that's a tragic route to go down.
It is, yeah.
They have my sympathy because
I
it's
like,
not an easy
He's a
way.
complicated guy, but yeah.
desperate methed out huckster because their schemes are pretty much
Bonkers. Trying to sell plastic
Yeah.
beads as jewels.
I mean, honestly, desperate methods.
That's a really fun version of Breaking Bad.
I'm the author of several.
Soapy was tired of moving around, so when he arrived in the mining boomtown of Denver, Colorado, what he saw was a lot of prospectors. And the thing is with prospectors, something that he knew, is that prospectors, in order to be a prospector, you have to have a lot of faith in something that is unsure, right? So they're the most optimistic people, and they're, in turn, some of the most gullible people.
gamblers with grit.
Oh yeah.
Yes, they're people that are willing to go after something that isn't sure. And Soapy, he's a sure thing man. Mm-hmm. He's not like them. He's a sure thing man.
Yeah.
So he goes, oh, this is ripe for the picking. So he goes to Denver, and he gathered the rougher elements of the sporting world. Now, the sporting world is gamblers. People that play roulette and poker and faro. And we've talked, I think, in private about faro.
Yeah, it's a card game.
It's a card game.
Right.
It's basically craps with cards.
Okay.
You play with one deck of cards, and you have a printed board with all the cards on it, right? And as the dealer turns over a card, you bet on what the next card's going to be, right?
Right.
And you can bet on whether or not that, like, if I do an 8 of hearts, you can bet on whether or not you're going to have a higher or lower card. You can bet on suits. You can bet on all sorts of stuff.
Blacker or redder card.
Exactly, yeah. You can bet on all that stuff.
All right.
And it was the most popular game in the Old West. Like, when people are playing cards, most of the time, 9 times out of 10, they're playing Faro. They're not playing poker.
I used to play high-low, red-black with like friends as a drinking game.
Yeah.
If the money version is any equivalent to the version I played, you'll get really drunk.
Well, the thing is it's naturally, the game itself is just naturally stacked to the house, to the dealer. So there's a lot of people back in these days that's how they made their living. They were a Faro dealer. If they need to pick up some cash, it's not like being an Uber driver or an Uber Eats driver like what Chris is doing. You can pick up some extra cash by being a Faro dealer.
Right.
It's an easy game to rig. Super easy to rig. Because all you need is a gaff deck. You know what I mean?
You get one of those gaff decks at the fucking con store.
Yeah.
Get some weighted dice while you're there.
Yeah.
A flim-flam hat that's got a, I don't know, tulip and a rabbit
Well,
inside.
Soapy's hat, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, you got all these rougher people of the sporting world together. And he put together a loose confederation of cheats and thieves, bunco men, which just means a cheat or a thief, but they called them bunco men back in the day.
I like it.
And sure thing men and street toughs and outlaws and flim-flam men and con man, all answering to Soapy. You know what I mean? He built like this empire, right, of criminals. And he paid off lawmen, and he provided like Tammany Hall style like politic muscle to some of the politicians of the time to help get them elected. And that would, of course, give them political shelter, you know, against anything that was trying to chase him.
It's like a grifter's running everything.
Yeah, so, like, they would help stuff ballot boxes, intimidate voters, like, things like that. You know what I mean? Like, to make sure their candidate won. And
when they realize it's all false, they just, like, pull up a single rolling screen that's the entire town, and then they're like... and like a fucking, I don't know, they have, like, a cart. Clankety clanks on it.
Well, Soapy stayed in Denver for like 10 years, which is nuts.
Yeah, grifting people.
Just grifting people. Him and his gang.
Grifting the shit out of them.
I just appreciate the fact that that's his form of diversifying his assets.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's just finding new and exciting grifts.
Well, and what he would do, he would also muscle his way into like controlling shares in businesses. He would point a gun at somebody, not him personally, but one of his toughs, would like point a gun at somebody and make them sell, you know, a share of their business to Soapy so he could own it, you know. So he became like...
That's a solid business.
Controlling... Yeah. He became like controlling interests in a lot of these dance halls and saloons and opera houses.
Give me some shares.
Yeah. At the end of a gun.
If they didn't, he'd send some of his Zing Zang Men or Flim Flam Boys or whatever.
Dum Dum Dugan will come in and box your ears.
Yeah. The funny thing is you're not that far off, honestly. You're really not. Like, that's pretty much exactly what
it all these fucking rodeo clowns fucking tumbling in to fucking beat your ass.
It's not far off from the truth, man. That's the funniest part about this. And his gang would become to be known as the Soap Gang. And they became extraordinarily powerful in Denver.
It's like Fight Club.
Yeah. The Soap Gang.
When they become, they're trash and shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
he had
ruining those cassette tapes.
Yeah.
With the magnets. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
That doesn't make any sense in modern context.
Not anymore.
No, they just burnt books. Yeah. Books that were anti-grifting.
Tell them the truth. Yeah. There was Reverend John Bowers. He was a grip man. He dressed like a holy man to gain the Mark's trust.
Reminds me of you remember the guy in Red Dead 2, the Reverend?
Mm-hmm.
I think
That was him. That was him.
Like, he was an actual reverend, though, technically.
Well, yeah,
but
that's
he's, like,
this
drunk
guy.
all the time.
That's this guy.
Yeah.
So that guy in Red Dead is basically John Bowers.
I wonder if he's based off of him. There may be something
I would not be surprised. And what John Bowers would do, he would gain their trust by being a holy man. And he would, like, go to the next town over and ride the train back to Denver. And he would meet people on the train and, gain their trust that way. And another thing he did is he memorized all of the secret handshakes and greetings of all these fraternal orders. Masons, all that stuff. So if he
Nice.
saw somebody with, like, a Masonic ring or something, he could, like, greet them in the way.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's a brother now. He's a brother. And so, like, he'd get off the train in Denver, and he's like, look, I got a proposition for you. He'd bring them to, like, a rigged card game or a rigged game where he's like, you can double your money, and all this stuff, and he'd get cheated, right?
This is every facet of existence that I think is awesome
Yeah.
in one story.
Yeah.
It is. Dude, and it just gets better.
To be honest, speaking of Red Dead, Soapy reminds me of, remember Trelawney?
Yes,
That's who that reminds
yes,
me of.
exactly, yes. Because he had the tripe and keister,
Yeah. He was that guy. He was only kind of like part of the group sometimes.
Yeah.
but, like,
No, he was a flim-flam man. He was a confidence man. Yeah, any of those types of guys, that's Soapy. But Soapy became head of this, like, gangster empire. But yeah, like, they would lead them, like, later on in the story, I'll just tell you the story now, but later on in this story, John Bowers would, when they were in the Klondike, he would ask a guy, like, hey, I'm trying to get out of the Klondike. And the thing is, like, I bought a small amount of land and I'm looking to sell it for cheap. And he would get the person off the train and he goes, why don't you come over and look at it with me? You can decide on the price, And this person has a pocket full of money, and you get him back to the place and there's a dude in there with a shotgun and a fucking mask on, and he holds him up. And John Bowers is like, oh no, don't rob us.
Yeah.
and he robbed them both, but of course, this guy's on their team.
Right.
So he robs them, and, John Bowers has to be like, well, since you don't have any money anymore, I have to sell it to someone else.
Oh, jeez.
But they would always lead him into stick-ups, lead him into rigged card games, lead him into little scams and stuff like that.
All these guys are going to hell.
Oh, yeah.
If there ever was such a thing, they're going directly there.
Yeah. Because he'd be like, you're a Mason. Hey, here's the secret handshake.
Slap,
What's up,
slippity-doo.
brother?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And they to this day, like, they call each other brothers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, it's something I probably will never understand. There was the Professor Turner Jackson.
Oh.
And the professor, he actually knew stuff about geology. And he could speak very intelligently about how to find gold mines and silver mines and, like, how, like, the best practices in that. So his grift is that he would tell people, like, where to do it for a fee.
Oh.
And, of course, they'd pay him for nothing. And he'd send them on their way.
Nice. That's so
they got
fucking
a
awesome.
reverend, they got a
The
professor.
professor.
This is Ocean's 11.
Oh,
little
dude.
tiny.
It is.
They got
It
a
is.
cowboy, an Indian, a
Yeah.
construction
Yeah.
worker.
Police officer.
It's the village people.
I was also thinking of making a Gilligan's Island reference, but I went another way.
Yeah.
They got a movie star, a professor, and a Marianne.
I was like, what's funnier, Gilligan's Island or the Village People?
Yeah.
They're both hilarious.
They're both hilarious.
I think I like the Village People more.
Yeah.
It's almost diversity. It's like almost.
Almost.
But
there.
in both cases, it's like we got all these things. They're all white people, but we got one of everything.
Yeah. It's as good as they could do back then.
Yeah.
I guess. And then there was the head of his muscle, who was Icebox Murphy.
Oh, there we go.
Now,
Let's
any
talk
guesses? Any guesses? Just before we move on, any guesses as to why his name was Icebox Murphy?
He was an Inuit.
No.
Putting bodies in an ice box.
No.
He was a boxer that would train specifically in the cold Arctic tundra.
Or in an ice box.
That's a good
no.
one.
That's
These are
a
all
good
great.
one. That's a good one, but no.
He didn't train as a boxer, like punching, like Rocky, the sides of
Raw
beef.
meat, yeah.
Yeah.
But that gets closer, actually.
Oh, no, wait. No, I got it.
Okay.
His grift was he had a box full of rocks that he told people was a box full of ice, and he'd sell it to them, and then they got home, they opened it, and they're like, it's just rocks again.
Oh, no.
Now I gotta have a drink full
He's
of rocks.
got a box, and he says, "Put your hand in it," and then the kid's like, What's in there?" And he goes, "Pain." Is that
You have to prove that you're a human being.
That's Gom Jabber Johnson.
Gob Jabber Johnson from Dune?
yeah,
Yes.
from
The name of that
Arrakis.
character, Gob Jabber Johnson.
Yeah.
All right, one last one. So
One last one.
he was then punching just blocks of ice, and his fists turned into steel.
No. Fuck. No, actually, it's more hilarious.
He murdered an ice giant.
It's more hilarious than any of that.
I'm going off the rails
okay.
here.
It's actually really funny, and he hated that name, but it's really funny.
like that they
how
all
he got
hate
this
their
name.
nicknames.
Yeah, it's really funny actually. So what he did is he had a scheme one time, and his name stuck after the scheme. He was going to rob a meat market, and the plan was simple. He was going to break in at night. He was going to rig the very large vault with explosives, blow it open, and steal the money.
Steal the meat.
Well, the problem is he rigged the explosives to the meat locker.
Nah, he did.
fucking
And when he blew
rube.
it open, it blew meat everywhere. and the safe was
Why
like
is this
next
not a
to
Coen Brothers?
it. Yeah.
That smells delicious,
It's just-
is what they must have said at the time. They're like, who's making barbecue? Oh, no, wait, it's a robbery.
You could make this movie change nothing. It'd be
It
hilarious.
would be hilarious. Yeah.
Coen Brothers. I
Yeah,
know
get
you're
on
listening.
it.
You're our biggest
Yeah.
fans.
Yeah.
Joel, the other one, Ethan.
Yeah. Yeah, Joel and Ethan Coen.
You guys made Lady Killers, so you guys can't make anything worse. So just
Yeah.
make this.
That is the worst movie.
So yeah, Icebox Murphy, that was his muscle. He was kind of dim-witted.
I do like
Thug
that
of
they
an
all
individual.
don't like their nickname because they all got their nicknames from the thing they fucked up.
Something embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's something embarrassing.
They're good at everything else, and
Yeah.
they're good at grifting, being muscle, fucking robbing. But the one time they fucked up a job, that's where your
Everyone
nickname comes-
remembers. Yeah.
So John Bowers, did he get the nickname the Rev because he was having sex with underage boys?
Ooh, no, he was a loose reverend, but now under Icebox Murphy in the muscle department was Big Ed Burns, Shotgun Tom Collins, and even the famous Texas Jack Vermillion joined the soap gang.
Could you imagine shotgunning a Tom Collins like he came in a can?
I could not. No, that'd be
No.
too
I
rough.
assume that's where he got that name.
No, Shotgun Tom Collins carried a giant shotgun.
It's like that dude from The Wire.
I thought he had like half a face.
No,
He's
he
like,
carried
don't
he
ask.
carried a big old shotgun, and that's why they called him that.
Because I thought all the names came from ironic,
No.
Well, Big Ed Burns, he was actually 3'7".
But is the
And
drink Tom Collins named after this guy?
No, it's not.
He was a
three-
different Tom Collins?
Tom Collins goes back a ways. I'm
Can we
pretty
just
sure.
get back to Big Ed Burns really quick?
Big
I'm
Ed
thinking not
Burns.
only is he 3'7", but he also had frostbite on both of his hands and feet. So he's Big Ed Burns.
And he wasn't educated.
Yeah, he was poorly educated.
Oh, Big Ed Burns
Burns.
was reported to be a bit of a dullard,
Okay.
I would imagine.
but he was a big dude. He was Big Ed Burns.
Yeah.
He's Big Ed Burns.
Well,
You don't need to be
it
smart
didn't
if
help
you're
that.
big.
If somebody was like, if you want to get your money back, you gotta fuck with Big Ed Burns, I would
Yeah.
be like, based on the name, I don't need that much.
Check, please.
Most
Pass.
people said that exact same thing. You want your money back? You got to deal with Big Ed Burns. Fuck that.
Yeah, whoa. I don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
It
Turns
didn't
out
help
it's a
that.
child.
Right. Didn't help that Big Ed Burns also had that hot dick. That's what was also burning.
They're like, so I got to talk to that slab of granite. They're like, no, that's a human behind the slab of granite. It's Big Ed Burns.
Yeah.
And it was a child with a burning penis.
Yeah.
Now, Texas
Giant lollipop.
Vermillion actually was with. He was a Wyatt Earp gunman.
Oh, no
Okay.
way.
So he's going to show up again.
You Wyatt Earp?
When we do a lot of people.
I hope the next time he
Texas
shows up,
Jack
he's on top of a rooftop with a
Danny and I were
hunting
just-
rifle.
sort of was.
Slight off topic, Danny and I were talking about Wyatt Earp recently because Wyatt
Russell. Yeah.
Ryan Russell from Falcon Winter
Falcon
Soldier
Winter
is
Soldier,
named
yeah.
after Wyatt Earp,
Yeah.
and and Danny's like, oh, because his dad played Wyatt Earp, and she's like, wait, I guess that would have been after,
Yeah.
and she's like, I guess he must have just really liked Wyatt Earp, and he was like, I want to play Wyatt Earp so bad, and I was like, I really like it that you know who Wyatt Earp is.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
making me happy.
And
But we just watched Tombstone.
Wait until we get to Wyatt Earp. Yeah, Tombstone is a blip in Wyatt Earp's actual career.
It really is.
Quick thing. So Wyatt Earp. I dated a girl in high school.
Oh, dear Lord.
Whose mom ended up having 2 kids but never got married to, and he worked on the movie Wyatt Earp as a casting agent.
Oh, no shit.
And all he did was talk about Wyatt Earp, and they had a son together who he named Wyatt because he was
dear Lord.
He was like I did casting on
Like, I
Mask of
did
Zorro
one thing.
and Wyatt Earp, and he
did
would talk
one thing.
about
Jesus
it
Christ.
constantly.
Oh,
the
my
guy was a
God.
loser. He didn't like me at all. For some reason, he thought I stole his jacket, but my dad bought me that jacket. The guy was a fucking nut job. But
He sounds like one.
He peaked in the early to mid '90s and
Never
then-
looked back.
Yeah, never looked back. That's all he ever talked about. But yeah.
I'll be honest, being named Wyatt after Wyatt Earp is cool.
It is.
Everything else is... I mean, Kurt Russell named his kid Wyatt.
Yeah.
Which, if anyone is naming their kid Wyatt, that guy gets
Well, and
passed.
honestly, Kurt Russell playing Wyatt Earp is great casting.
Yeah.
It really
It's
is.
great casting.
Agreed.
Honestly, I love that movie.
Kurt
It's
Russell
got its
being cast
flaws,
as
but...
anything is great casting.
It's
Kurt
true.
Russell
It's
is
true.
great casting.
But Doc Holliday,
Oh my!
Val
he
Kilmer-
steals the show.
Yeah.
everything he says is gold in
Yeah,
that movie.
it is. That's the whole reason to watch that movie. Also, one of Wyatt Earp's best friends, Bat Masterson.
Batman.
You've never heard of Bat Masterson?
I've heard of
Did he fight criminals?
Man.
Yeah, he did.
Bat Masterson is a real person
Yes.
who fought criminals.
Yes.
Batmansterson.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we get to Dodge City
Did
and
he beat
Wyatt
up a
Earp and
clown?
stuff, there's another guy did just as much as Wyatt Earp did, and his name was Bat Masterson, if not more. Bat Masterson was a famous person of the Wild West.
The name sounds very
Super
familiar, and I'm
famous.
kind of
It
embarrassed that I
sounds
don't
so
know.
much like Batman.
I know it does.
What movie was he in?
Batman.
He's been mentioned in a lot of movies.
That's how, honestly, I think I know who.
He's not in Tombstone.
Wyatt Earp is a household name to me because of Tombstone.
Actually, in Tombstone, I believe that Kurt Russell, as he's stepping off the train in the very beginning of the movie, asks somebody about somebody Masterson. He's talking about Bat Masterson.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Was he a bat?
He had a cane, he had a
wasn't
gimp
a-
leg.
He was a man. He was man bat.
And he had a shotgun.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Wait, he had a leg that was also a shotgun?
no, he
Oh.
he had a gimp leg, and so he walked around with a cane.
Okay.
But he had a big old shotgun that he also had. And
His cane was a gun.
Dodge City was a lot like Skagway in the early days of the Wild West,
Yeah.
in that it's quote unquote lawless. When we do those episodes, those Dodge City episodes, we'll talk all about Bat Masterson. I promise you, Texas Jack Vermillion and Bat Masterson are coming back with Wyatt Earp with a
Nice.
force.
Beautiful.
So
Cool.
you'll learn all about them when we do that. Yeah, he was friendly with Bat, and they had like a lifelong correspondence, which is super weird because Soapy was a huckster.
Yeah.
And Bat was a quote-unquote lawman. But back in those days, the line between
yeah,
huckster and
pretty
lawman
gray.
were
Yeah.
pretty gray. Yeah.
In my
yeah.
like romanticized version of like the grifter huckster era of the late 1800s,
Yeah.
that's kind of how I imagine things in
I
general.
feel like I
Well-
was born way too late.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the myth
be
of the
a
Wild
grifter.
West.
You? Yeah.
It's the myth of the Wild West that it's lawless and it required these
be a
lawmen to come and clean it all up.
Yeah, I'd be a grifter, you'd be my shit.
I'd be like, I got $100.
Yeah.
I feel like
Anyway.
Jerry'd be a lawman. We'd be friends, but he'd always be busting us, busting our chops.
But it'd be like,
But a lawman that
Zach
also
would be a
dealt
cattle
faro
wrestler.
to make ends meet.
Would I be a cattle rustler? I thought I would be the alcoholic bartender who's just drinking his own.
Oh, I know
stock.
who you would be. I know who you'd be.
The flapper lady in the dress, right?
No,
That'd
no.
be, yeah.
We're coming to you.
Oh god.
oh. I don't think
We'll
any of
get
us
there.
would be lawmen.
No, we'll get there.
We don't be a lawman. I think he'd be a grifter.
Now, like any gangster or, today a billionaire, like, Al Capone did this. Any billionaire today does this, but what they do is they get PR from doing good things. You get billionaires that will build something that everybody loves and be like, he's a good one, but he refuses to pay his taxes. Or Al Capone, he would give money to poor people,
Yeah.
Right.
and whatnot. But that doesn't make you a good person.
Yeah.
That's a smokescreen for PR
Yeah.
to convince people you're not all that bad.
From what I
Okay?
hear, if you don't pay taxes, that means you're very intelligent and should be president.
No. Yeah.
Jeff Bezos.
Like all of them.
You're-
2024.
You're a job creator.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But Soapy did this kind of thing, or was reported to do this kind of a thing. It's take any of that with a grain of salt, like the fact of him giving to widows or giving to the poor or helping to build a church. Any church he was purported to help build with money, all of the priests, and again take this with a grain of salt, but all the priests denied it vehemently.
Okay.
So they don't want to admit that they took money from a huckster, and a flim-flam man, but I don't think Soapy, even if Soapy did give money to people and was charitable, that does not make up for his behavior.
Yeah.
And again, with any billionaire that also builds stuff that we all enjoy or owns things that we all enjoy, that does not excuse their behavior.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. Remember that these billionaires, your Paul Allens, your Jeff Bezos, your whoever of the world, that when they build these things, it's not out of the goodness of their heart. It's PR, so you will think that they're a good person rather than
Steve
realize
A capitalist.
rather than realize that they're actually just grifting the system.
Right.
I feel like Steve Jobs is a big, kind of the worst example.
Well, I think
No, of good PR, bad person.
Well, I think Paul Allen was that way too, with the Cinerama and the Seahawks and all that stuff.
I
Yeah.
love Cinerama. They got chocolate popcorn.
Me too, but that doesn't make him a good person just because the
Great sound
Cinerama's
system.
fucking awesome. So Soapy controlled numerous dance halls, saloons, and opera houses in Denver. They had trick roulette wheels, they had rigged card games with gaff decks. They made, poker and faro even more profitable than what it already was.
Viva Old Vegas.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
The most famous club that Soapy had in Denver was the Tivoli Club. Famously had a sign above the door that said Caveat Emptor, which is Latin for buyer beware.
Oh.
Hey, it's on a sign.
Yeah.
People already
If
know
you
what's
don't know
up.
how to speak Latin, you're most people. It's your fault.
Well, back then, Latin was a part of the curriculum, at least in some places. But some people, most people would just get a 9th grade education and then move on.
Prospector Town? Come on.
Yeah, you don't need a education to go find gold. But they also had fake lottery offices where, they'd run fake lotteries. And when they were found out, they just move on.
As you do.
Just down the block, different part of the city. They had fraudulent stock exchanges where you could, pay money and there's no stocks.
This is like every pyramid scheme. Every
yeah.
like when you get the call from India and they tell you that
Your
the
social
IRS is
your
coming
social
after
security
you.
number has been compromised.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
gotta buy $150 worth of fucking Home Depot gift cards.
Gift cards.
And put them in an addressed envelope. It's
And you wire the yeah.
Every scam ever is
Yeah.
still
Nigerian
going.
prince is
Yeah.
trying to give you all its
They
money.
also had
right.
They also had scam diamond auctions.
I got scammed.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
got scammed for a PS2 back in the day.
What?
On eBay. The guy, it was one of those, you're selling it on eBay, and they go, I can give you the money, but it's got to be, kind of on eBay, off eBay, where we send you, a cashier's check or whatever.
Yep, I got
and,
that. Same thing.
And
Yep,
you get
yep.
the cashier's check, you cash it, everything seems above board, then all of a sudden it's wrong.
Well, and you're supposed to wire the money through
Yep.
Western Union
Yep.
after you cash that check.
And maybe
Yeah.
you're
God.
really poor and desperate for money, and you're like...
You were so
See-
poor. You were eating fucking nothing.
Yeah.
It's hard to
You're
describe.
eating tortillas with nothing on them?
Yeah, eating just loaves of bread or just jars of mayonnaise. One
Yeah.
time when I was poor, I had just a jar of mayonnaise, and for a couple of days, that's all I had was a
You've
jar
told that
of
story
mayonnaise.
more than once.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
So it's hard to describe just how, even the smartest of us, even the most intelligent of us, can be susceptible to scams.
Based off of
this isn't
desperation.
just it's based off of desperation.
Greed.
I don't know. I was gonna say empathy. The worst I
Sometimes.
ever got. I mean,
Sometimes.
I've barely been scammed because I'm way smarter than you guys. But
You're the tallest and smartest history boy.
I am the tallest.
Yeah.
I would say you're just you're the most
You're gonna hate to see this in my
non-trusting.
basement, man.
I don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
But I did have a guy once. I pulled up to a stop dressed really nice, and he has a fucking gas can, and he goes, "This is really embarrassing. I ran out of gas. I'm like on my way to work. Could you help me out?" And I was like, there's part of me that's like,
dude,
this is fucking scam.
I
gave him some money. Same, like, next day, I drove past there. He's there again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I knew it.
I think that's happened to me before, though. Like, I've given people money, but at the same time, like, at the same time, though, even if it is a sort of a scam, motherfucker needed that money more than I did.
To tell you the truth, I was more upset that I was like,
you were being lied to.
Yeah.
If you just told the truth, I'm down on my luck.
I mean, the truth is, like, I was
20.
like, this is probably bullshit, but here you go. If a guy's like, I'm down on my luck, I've given. Usually, what I do is I'll like, if I'm walking around, I've like leftover food, and they're like, I've been like, are you hungry?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, and I was like, you can have this if you want.
Any kind of panhandle, like under the umbrella of panhandling.
Yeah.
Is
I never
entirely
feel bad
contingent
about
on
that.
my personal mood, how much cash I have in my wallet.
Same.
There's so many conditionals in there that it's not even like there can be a day that a guy's like, please help me, I got nothing, and he's like completely down on his luck, and if I don't have the shit to get, I'm just like,
fuck you.
Yeah.
There was a guy,
but there's sometimes where it's like, dude, I'm for whatever reason I'm buying your story. Here's $20.
Yeah, exactly. A guy
Good
can
for you.
slide by on a good night and be like, give me $20, motherfucker. And
But
I'm
you
like,
know what?
sure.
But you know what? It's just fucking $20.
I gave a Trader Joe's gift card to a guy on Capitol Hill because he was a young guy. Same thing. I was like, I don't have any cash, but like, if you want the Trader Joe's gift card, there might be money on there.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you're gonna go in there, and they're gonna be watching you. I know how they do.
I might have said it in another episode, but I gave a guy a bunch of yen one time.
You did. Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, it's safe to say that we're all sort of like LaVeyan Satanists and the sort of thing of
absolutely.
just like you got to take care of yourself and your family before you can take care of other fucking people.
Exactly.
I do agree with that. Yes.
So
getting back to the story, there are some like guys that would walk around with like these nickel-plated pearl handle, Colt 45s on their hip.
Cool.
And one guy, like a guy with these guns, threatened another dude at a saloon. The guy, he was a newspaper man. He wasn't even like an outlaw or anything, but he was a newspaper man. And he walks up to this guy who threatened him, who has these nickel-plated pearl handle guns.
Right.
And he walks up to him, right up to his face, and he knocks his hat off his head.
nice.
And the dude was so humiliated he fucked off. And the guy said to like the people around that were like, "Whoa, shit!" Yeah. He said to him, "Anyone that walks around with nickel-plated pearl handle guns won't shoot anybody."
Oh yeah, bullets are expensive, man.
Well, that makes me feel bad in Red Dead for like make my guns super
I know,
pretty.
look cool. Yeah, but at least you're, I don't know.
It is a video game.
Yeah, it's not real life. Yeah. Now,
Guns look like shit.
I feel like if I was carrying guns, I want people to not notice it.
yeah, exactly, right? Now, Soapy, of course, and his gang, they all got a piece of the action. Just like corporate lobbyists nowadays. And politicians. They all got a piece of the action.
They all get a corner slice of the pizza.
Yeah, they all got, from all the bunco games and all the scams and everything, they all got a piece of the action. Including marshals and lawmen and all that type of stuff. But Soapy's true vice was gambling. When he made money, he would go down to the poker tables and the faro tables, and he would spend it.
But he knew it was rigged.
Yeah, but it was fun. He liked gambling. He just liked
That's
gambling.
how I feel about gambling. Like, in Vegas, I remember going up to, like, the fucking video slots and just be like, lose. Well, alright, there was $20.
Yeah. Yep.
$5 blackjack, man.
But you knew that you were going to lose $20 before putting it in.
That was actually the only
absolutely.
time I gambled. I was like, because I hate gambling. I don't
Yeah, me
enjoy
too.
it.
I'm not a gambler. He just liked to gamble. It was fun for him. It's like
Yeah.
playing video games for him. Because he knew that at the end of the day, next day, just walk out and fucking scam somebody.
Yeah.
Super easy for him.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like with deliver driving. I was like, I'll buy a video game. I'll fucking get that amount tomorrow.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Didn't matter to him.
Dude, like, I was like, fuck, I gotta pay for that
Yeah.
video game I just bought.
Well, and it's not
I gotta
like-
make $60 today.
Well, and Soapy, it's not like Soapy was sitting on a pile of cash. He just controlled things,
Yeah.
you know, because he lost money nearly as fast as
was
he got
running
it.
things.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of sort of like getting high on his own supply, but not really.
Yeah, like I almost feel like sitting down and participating in the machine for fun,
Yeah,
like is
it's
like
kind of a power move, isn't it?
yeah, right,
Yeah. So Soapy even married a charming dance hall girl named Mary Eva Noonan. And they actually had 3 children, Jefferson Randolph Smith III, Mary Eva Smith, and James Luther Smith.
Okay.
And actually, the grandson of Soapy actually wrote a biography about his
How could
his ancestor.
you not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and some of it is a little dubious, but it was written kind of a long time ago, so that's fine.
Well, if you're a
Honestly.
descendant of fucking Soapy, you gotta
Be a little bit of a huckster, right?
yeah, fucking duh. Keep it in the family.
Yeah.
It's in your genes.
But he kept Mary shielded from his work life. He even did like the old Godfather quote, like, "Don't ask me about my business." He straight up said that to his wife. And
He hadn't even seen the movie.
yeah, exactly. And most of his like inner circle and like closest confidants didn't even know that he was married. He kept his 2 lives so
Do you think
separate.
she ever looked through a doorway while he closed it?
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely. And people are like kissing his ring. I absolutely think that's a reality. But it's in like a dirty Western town,
Yeah.
you know.
It's a dirtier ring.
Yeah.
And a dirtier door.
Yeah.
So she really didn't have a ton of idea about what Soapy did. You know what I mean? She didn't really know. And he would move her around. And he would stay put, but he would move her around to kind of keep her away from that. The newspapers at the time actually, they were trying to go after Soapy. One of the newspaper editors actually outed Mary as Soapy Smith's wife. Because she was there under, like, false pretenses, you know, my husband is a Denver, like, minor conglomerate or whatever. And, like, the newspaper was like, no, she's the wife of
a huckster.
of Soapy Smith. And when Soapy found out about this, he was such a private person that when he found out about this, he found that editor on the street, and he had a cane, and he cracked him over the head with the cane so hard that it split his skull. And I guess the sound could be heard in, like, other businesses.
That's so fucking awesome.
So he was charged with attempted murder.
Well, that is attempted murder.
Yeah.
It is, but with some
Because he didn't hit him being like, I hope it only hurts him.
with some politicking though, he got it reduced to assault.
Now,
Did the guy survive?
that's really
Yeah, he did.
interesting.
He did.
I thought that with his ties with politicians, that he could actually get the blame shifted over to that editor, saying that it was destruction of property.
You got reduced to a reckless driving.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I used to be editor of newspaper. Now I'm brain exposed guy at circus. Soupy sales made me good guy.
So actually, though, you know, Soapy was still let out on bail, and he skipped bail
Of course.
and
okay.
fucked off.
What, are they going to
And-
find him on YouTube?
Yeah, on Facebook, or
I
whatever.
don't know why I said YouTube.
Yeah. He's
He
making
might have a
videos about
YouTube
himself.
channel.
He's getting lots of hits.
He's like, I've been filming my crimes.
Yeah.
You got the TikTok. I got the other.
It's on TikTok.
He's on TikTok, yeah. But yeah, he kind of like started wandering around, and he decided, him and his gang, that Denver's old news. And he started wandering around. He moved Mary and the kids to St. Louis, Missouri, because that's where her parents were from.
He wanted to meet her in St. Louis.
Yeah, Meet Me in St. Louis. Yeah,
Yep.
Great movie, actually.
Great barbecue and great gambling too.
Yeah, great city, honestly.
They got an arch.
They got
They
that
do.
arch.
They do.
They got that plane.
I don't know anything else about them.
They have the spirit of St. Louis.
Yeah. Yes.
Isn't he St. Louis?
That
I
guy
don't know
was a
about
Nazi
that.
sympathizer.
Oh, the plane was cool.
Who wasn't back in the day?
Right?
A lot of people. Anyway, but one place he thought would be a good fit for the Soap Gang was Pocatello, Idaho.
So this is why you wanted to do Soapy.
Soupy.
Soupy sales.
He had a puppet.
I've been to Pocatello on numerous occasions. My cousin lives in Pocatello. It is a
Shithole.
high desert town, I guess.
Oh, okay.
It's honestly not that
I
bad.
feel like brush and rocks.
Is Boise high desert?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Southern Idaho is high desert.
I was born in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
That's high desert.
Yeah. All of that area is high desert. Anyway,
I moved when I was 6. I don't fucking care.
It's got plateaus. It's got rocks.
there's sand dunes.
There's got sand dunes.
There are no homosexuals.
If you like sand and rocks and zero homosexuals, that's where you go.
It's
like
dry,
Russia.
it's coarse, and it gets everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The heterosexuality gets
It's the Tatooine of America.
Now,
No gays there.
Pocatello, Idaho at this time was
Except for
a
the droids. That's why they don't let them in the bars.
Jesus Christ.
Was it actually a droid detector?
So Pocatello, Idaho at this time was a railroad town. And it being a railroad town means that like a lot of people are coming in, a lot of people are coming out, you know.
A lot of people are playing the harmonica.
Yeah.
I like to think the banjo.
Yeah, and a lot of people are making their money and they are looking for a place to spend it, you know. Okay. So he's scouting out Pocatello, Idaho.
I love spending my money.
Yeah. So however, they weren't there long before a rival gang tried to assassinate Soapy for trying to infringe on their operation.
Oh, in Idaho?
Of course.
Yeah.
Ah, the
There was
Soapy
already
gang.
a gang there.
Where in Idaho? Sorry, where was it?
Pocatello.
Pocatello,
Where
Idaho.
is that, though?
That's southeast Idaho.
I know where Idaho is.
It's southeast Idaho.
Southeast.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
gotcha.
the southeast part of the northwest part of the map.
So
I know.
So
where
Idaho's
Idaho is.
shaped. Idaho's shaped like a finger pointing, right?
I know what
like
Idaho,
finger pointing
yeah.
up. It's on.
It's
It's
here.
on more towards the pinky.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. On the hand.
You said southeast. I got it.
Okay,
Southeast
just,
part
you
of
know,
Idaho.
I'm just-
Everyone's like,
For
where?
our listeners, I'm just trying to make sure they understand.
I
too.
guess that's a good point.
So Pocatello had all the boats over there. They had lots
did-
of...
It's landlocked.
I did see a
It's
comedian
railroad.
recently who was talking about, like, he was in New York telling people from Idaho, and they're like, oh, yeah, you're from the Midwest? And he'd be like, no. And he'd be like,
Idaho's different.
you're wrong.
Yeah.
No, you're from the Idaho's in the Midwest.
Idaho, Iowa, it's the same shit.
Ohio,
Ohio. Yeah.
Minnesota.
Indiana.
So on
There's 3 states.
On August 30th, 1889, the two gangs had a shootout at the Pocatello train depot, and actually 2 people died. And Soapy, he wrote his wife afterwards, and he told her, like, there was a shootout, but he didn't want to worry her. So he kind of, like, was tongue-in-cheek about it, and he was like, I almost got my mustache shot off.
We
But,
played paintball.
yeah.
Wink, wink.
He didn't actually kill anybody. Like, there's no actual hard evidence that Soapy actually ever killed anybody.
I like
He shot a guy through the legs.
I like this old-timey version of shootouts where it's just like, yeah, we all shot at each other. You know, we went through the guts. It's fine.
Yeah, he went through.
I lived another 50 years.
Yeah.
It's like Sam Elliott in Tombstone.
In Tombstone, yeah.
Exactly.
Like, we'll just ship him out of town. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, and that's how they did it too. They like with Soapy and his gang too. Like the sheriffs in Pocatello, even they just escorted him to the train and said, "Never come back."
They died on the train, but they
Yeah.
didn't know that. And if you don't see the man die, doesn't count.
He's not dead.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like a TV show.
It's live last time I saw him.
If you don't see him actually die, that character's still alive in a TV
Habeas
show.
corpus.
It's
Yeah.
like Bucky Barnes.
Yeah. So,
But it was all a dream.
he's
So-
gonna come back later.
They fell a great distance into some mist. I
You
assume
actually didn't see him die. They could climb back up and be all bloody and stuff.
they're gonna. I guarantee if they fall in a mist, they're alive.
Yeah.
Like
Kazuya Mishima from Tekken.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio on Titanic. All you see was him fall into the water.
You'll be back in Titanic too.
In Titanic 2, where
The
he's
Reckoning.
got a robot arm and it fires missiles.
Yeah, and he's back from the future or something.
He's from the future.
These stories, they sometimes get jumbled up. So I'm going to tell you, I've read several books on this. I've done a lot of research on this. I'm going to tell you the order of events that I think happened based off of my research, okay?
All right.
So, some of our listeners that may know this story already, they may have heard these events a different way or in a different order. So, anyway, I just want that to be a very important caveat as we go through.
This is how Jerry is writing the movie. This is the order that happens.
So, after Pocatello, you know, they wandered and scammed and all sorts of stuff until they landed in a place called Creede, Colorado.
With arms wide open.
I knew that was coming. It was a silver...
Solid. It was solid.
Yeah, it was a silver mining boom town, is what it was.
I'm upset I didn't think of that. I was like Creed from Office. I got nothing.
Yeah. This is in 1892, just to let you know.
Oh, they didn't have The Office in 1892. You're
No.
right.
No.
But they did have the band Creed.
Discussed that. Soapy began aggressively buying as much land and controlling stakes and businesses as he could, usually by dubious means. And what they would do is they would either, you know, in front of a barrel of a gun, they would make somebody sell controlling stakes into stuff. They would
I love
scam
that.
people out of stuff. They would go to auctions, and they had like an army of sex workers, of prostitutes, bid
Oh, like
against
Sin City.
Yeah, and they would bid against... Soapy had a whole army of them. And they would bid against these guys trying to buy businesses. And then they would have shills that were like, hey, let the woman have it. You know, be chivalrous, let the woman have it. And they would gather around the guy and they'd be like, hey, dude, you gotta, like, let this lady have it, you know? Like, that would be the good thing to do. And then they would, like, you know, and then they'd, like, muscle him and be like, dude, let her have it.
Jesus
And so
Christ.
she would get it, and of course that would be Soapy's now.
Yeah.
And so they bought up a bunch of the town, and he controlled it a lot like he did in Denver, where he set up his dance halls, his opera houses, his saloons, and his bunco games, and all that kind of stuff all over town.
But he was like doing a good job, right? The people who lived there were having a good time. They were happy. It wasn't like bad, you know.
It's bad.
It's bad.
He's
It's
mining.
bad everywhere.
Yeah, he's mining the miners, basically. You know, because again, prospectors, they're the easiest mark. They're the most optimistic, just people that will believe in anything.
They barely have any teeth, and they still want to like believe they're gonna find gold.
So Soapy's Creed operation was more beautiful than the Denver operation. His brother-in-law was the new deputy sheriff, so they could operate with impunity. His new headquarters was the Orleans Club.
Wow.
Oh, no, sure.
Yeah.
Let me tell about this gumbo here.
Roo, 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 I smell roo. Anyway, his grip on the town had become inescapable, and Soapy justified his actions of cheating people everywhere he went in this way. That he was providing a public service to teach people to not be gullible, and if someone wasn't careful enough with their money, then they deserved to lose it.
Huh.
That's how he justified
He's a
it.
libertarian.
Consenting adults can do whatever they want with their money, and if they want to do something,
Let the
stupid
free
with
market
it,
decide, is what I'm saying.
Exactly, yeah. Even if that free market's full of hucksters and grifters, which
That's
is
on
to
you.
this day.
See,
That's on you.
I feel like Joel Osteen would be doing this back in those days.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
underneath the fucking
He's
tax
doing this
umbrella.
now.
Right,
Yeah.
well, like, but
Yeah, I know.
but he's not like, well, I'm providing a service. Well, they didn't have to give me all this fucking money.
He's
Right.
right. Yeah. It's all true.
It's like I'm just trying to spread the word of the Lord.
Now pay for my McMansion.
Like nobody's fucking heard of Jesus.
Yeah, he's like a Reverend John Bowers. Now I don't know how true this story is, but there's details of the story that certain things came before and after, and you don't really know exactly what the truth is. But a new man came to town in Creede, and he opened a dance hall without paying Soapy his tribute, which was a big ol' insult
You
to
pay
be
your
sure.
tribute.
To Soapy. Yeah, you had to work with the Soap gang if you're gonna open up a place in Creede.
You have to work with the soap gang if you want to come out clean.
And that man grew up to be Richard Nixon.
Well, this man, he thumbed his nose at the soap gang. It festered in Soapy's head. You know, with every passing day, the insult became bigger and bigger. So Soapy had a little interaction. He didn't actually have very much interaction, but he had a little bit of interaction with the man. But he didn't like the cut of his jib. He just didn't like this guy.
He didn't like this guy.
He didn't look you in the face. He was kind of a
autistic,
smart, a little bit. He was kind of a smarmy guy.
Nothing wrong with that. I
No.
have issues with eye contact.
And this guy may have been on the autistic spectrum.
I feel like you're building him up.
I am. Especially considering this man's lack of deference to the crime lord Soapy Smith.
Is he Mephisto?
No, but don't guess anymore. Now, this legend has a lot of things happening, but the man's name was Robert Ford, the man that
coward?
shot and killed Jesse James.
Oh!
Okay.
So if you've ever seen that
way.
movie, at the end of the
No, I
movie,
know.
he's in Creed, Colorado, and the man that he's supposed to be paying deference to is Soapy Smith. Now, according to the legend...
The coward Robert Ford.
Yes. Now, according to the legend...
Wait, is this the guy that you thought I was in the story?
No.
No.
Okay.
No, you were Soapy.
Yeah. According to the legend, Soapy ordered the hit on Robert Ford. And on June 8th, 1892, Edward O'Kelly, presumably being ordered by Soapy Smith, entered Ford's tent saloon with a double-barrel shotgun and said, "Hello, Bob." And when Robert Ford turned around, Edward O'Kelly emptied both barrels into Robert Ford's neck.
Oh, and the soundtrack was by
Killing-
Nick Cave.
Yeah, killing him instantly. And yeah, that's just a part of Wild West lore, is the killing of the coward Robert Ford. And actually what Soapy Smith's gang tried to do is they tried to antagonize Bob Ford. They'd follow him down the street singing that song. Jesse James was killed by the coward Robert Ford, like all that stuff. They would sing a little ditty that was written at the time about how this coward shot Jesse James and how it was him, like Nick Cave in at the end of the movie, like playing the guitar in the bar,
Right.
in front of Bob Ford. That was real. They would straight up follow him down the street, like, "Hey, you fucking coward!" Like they would do that, and he would just like keep walking. You know what I mean?
I love that movie and I love that soundtrack.
Yeah.
That soundtrack is written by Nick Cave and
Yes.
Warren Ellis. I love Nick Cave
That's
so
great.
much.
Now, in this time of hucksters, there was a lot of gaffes going on.
Oh, I love gaffs.
Yeah.
It's like when you trip up the stairs to go to Air Force One.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, gaffes in these days are just anything that's fake or dubious.
Slipping on a banana peel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
It's like when President Ford
yeah.
tripped on
He
that.
did it all the time. Yeah.
He tripped downstairs.
Yeah. And
Whoa,
upstairs.
whoa, 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 whoa.
But especially mummies and giants.
Ah, I love it.
So there's a lot of people back in these days that claim to find mummies and
Dude.
claim to find giants.
Wait, mummies outside of Egypt?
No, in America.
Heck of mummies.
Yeah. So, Soapy either like there was the Cardiff giant that that was quote unquote found and then exhibited for money, right? And then P.T. Barnum tried to buy the Cardiff giant from these people that quote unquote found it, and when he couldn't actually buy it, he had another one made. He made
He
another
made
one.
his own giant.
As
Yeah.
you do.
Soapy either came into possession of, or he was the one who commissioned it in the first place.
Oh.
He came into possession of a mummy.
Ooh.
A very well-preserved mummy that Soapy called McGinty.
Oh.
And he exhibited the McGinty mummy for 25 cents in Creed. And the crazy part about this is that after Soapy sold this mummy to other people, it made its way to Seattle, where it was renamed Sylvester, and it sits on display in the ye olde curiosity shop on Seattle's waterfront to this
No way!
I
day.
have
shit.
seen
Wow.
that mummy.
That was Soapy's mummy. And you know what it was? It was an unclaimed body of a dead miner, and Soapy had him preserved so he could put him on display.
Wrapped them
Wow.
up in toilet paper.
cool.
and
Oh, I
dipped
have.
them in.
I know exactly. What
I've
you're
seen
talking
that
about.
mummy too. It's
Yeah.
down on the waterfront to this day. It's down on display down there.
Now,
Renamed Sylvester.
I
Crazy. I've actually been there, and it's rare because it was like a lot of the Seattle tourist things I haven't done.
Done, yeah.
I only recently went up in the fucking Space Needle
Yeah.
pre-COVID.
It's free to see the mummy though.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
You just
Right.
go in the old curiosity shop, see three-legged
Yeah.
pig.
It's down
see
at Miner's
fucking-
Landing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like, you know, there's a shop called Ye Old Curiosity Shop. But you're kind of
Yeah.
exactly.
And there's an Ivers right by there. You can go there. You
Oh.
can get like a clam
Surf and
chowder.
turf?
Yeah, you get a surf
Yup.
and turf.
Oh,
Get
so
halibut
good.
and chips and like what have you. And you
have
have
to
a
go into
great time.
the aquarium, which sucks.
I like the Seattle
The aquarium's
Aquarium.
fine.
the,
like
the
it.
aquarium's okay until you try to go through the Ring of Life, and it's all just dead jellyfish.
Fair enough.
I've been to
I like
cooler-
the octopus
They got
Oh,
COVID.
the
and all
octopus
the
is great.
otters and stuff.
Oh yeah,
The otters are the best thing.
Yeah.
But it's just so there's not a lot
You know, it's
going
even
on.
There's
better is
it's a small aquarium,
there's
but I
always
like
Point
it.
Defiant Zoo and Aquarium in Tacoma.
hell yeah.
It's, far superior to anything in Seattle.
I agree.
And I think everyone should just come on down to Tacoma and check that out.
That's cool.
But I do have one question though. I'm curious if Soapy had his hand in finding the preservation preserved remains of Jake the Alligator Man.
No, but what he did do is if he did commission this mummy, he took an unclaimed body and sent it to a place that specialized in this sort of a thing in California,
In mummification.
and they did it. Yeah, and like the thing is like
The Mummy guys.
if you go to the curiosity shop in Seattle, they'll tell you a bit of a legend. They'll tell you that we've done scans and it really is a person, and it is really a person. But
It's a dead dude.
they'll also tell you that at a certain point, the person was shot up with arsenic to
shit.
preserve the body, and that is very much so a 19th century thing to do,
Yeah.
to preserve a body. You wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
Otherwise.
ancient Egypt.
No, you
Right.
wouldn't shoot them full of
You shoot them
arsenic.
full of onions and sawdust. You
Well, and
shove
the-
it down their fucking
well,
throat.
well, in the way
Pull their
that
brain out through their nose.
in the way that they would
Beat their head in with a fucking sledgehammer.
the way they would
Ancient
sell
Egypt.
it, the way they would sell it back then is that he was in the Arizona desert, and that's why he was so well preserved. It's in the dry sun and climate. It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but Soapy ultimately he decided to take McGinty with him back to Denver, and he told the Soap gang, he goes, "My arrest warrants in Denver are ancient history. We're going back and we're going to reset up shop in Denver." But when they got there,
He was immediately arrested.
well, no. The Denver newspapers, who had just started outing Soapy, they were having none of it. And they started reporting on his every move. And the new governor, at the time, he wasn't having it either. And he was reform-minded, and he wanted to force Soapy and all of his very corrupt officials that he had put in place out of office.
Near
And-
he was.
Yes. And so when the Colorado governor fired these people, they refused to leave. So instead of quitting, they actually barricaded themselves inside the Denver City Hall with a bunch of guns and enough dynamite to turn that city block into a fucking crater.
Like a bunch of fucking babies.
Yeah.
So it was a reverse January 6th.
January 6th.
The
insurrection.
At the Capitol.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because they sat in there, and actually the governor pulled in troops, complete with a Gatling gun,
Cool.
to force them out. And, like, they even stood on the roof with, like, guns, and they were like, here's the dynamite, we'll blow this whole thing to Kingdom Come.
We're babies.
Yeah, they eventually stood down, no one died, it was bloodless. They basically had to leave after this. Because what the governor did is he goes, you know what, I'm not going to fight this with blood. I'm going to fight this in the courts. And when he did that, enough reform-minded people were now in control of Colorado that they had all of these sin tax or sin laws and all of these things that they put in place. And they actually closed all of the saloons, all of the dance halls, all of the opera houses. They closed all of them to get out all these people. And Soapy and his gang, they were just way too well known to stay there any longer.
Sure.
But
they're like Sacha Baron Cohen in like 2010.
Yeah.
That's why you get what's her name, who did a very good job.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. But the real reason why they had to get the fuck out of there now is because there was a guy. He was a businessman in Denver. He owned a few saloons as well. He was going around town telling tall tales about how he had beat up Soapy Smith.
Oh.
And that had never happened. But a lot of people were like, ha ha ha, Soapy Smith, you got beat up. Yeah, and he's like, that never happened. So like him and a few people like Icebox Murphy and Big Ed Burns, they went down to see this man.
Oh yeah, of course.
And
he got his two biggest dudes from what I hear.
Yeah.
And Soapy was so mad that he beat this man within an inch of his life with his bare hands.
Whoa.
He beat him so bad that he split open his knuckles on his, like, breaking face.
Jesus.
And he turned his face into fucking hamburger right then and there. He beat this man horribly.
Soapy Smith's
not to
monster.
death, but severely.
Yes. Also, a person that he brought with him was his younger brother, or could be cousin, because a lot of people said, like, they looked like twins. But it was his younger brother called Bascom. He was actually arrested. Him and Soapy were arrested for attempted murder. But Bascom, he actually did get arrested, but Soapy slipped out. Got away. He was slippery. Yeah, he got out of there.
Slipped out on those swords.
On his way out the door, he goes, you got slip-slopped by Soapy.
Sloppity-sloppy.
Yeah. It's not even, I can't even say the words right. I'm so slippery sloppy. Yeah. See you around, guys. And he slipped out on a bunch of fucking
He's
suds.
like if, you know what I imagine is, Iceman from X-Men?
Yeah, but it's like suds.
Soap.
With soap, yeah.
He's building pillars.
You know when he does that thing where he, like, creates the ice and he slides around on it? It's like
just
that,
soap
except
and
it's
they slip
soap
around?
and suds.
Yeah.
And everything is clean.
Oh, yeah. Cleans the whole city up.
I'm gonna clean up this town with my suds.
Yeah. Now, hounded by newspapers, Soapy tried to keep a low profile while searching for a new hunting ground for marks.
It's like, don't set anything up too much.
Well, but every time he'd show up in a place, the Denver newspaper would report on it. The Rocky Mountain News would report on it. Like, oh, Soapy's here. Watch out, everybody.
God
and he's
damn
like,
it.
Yeah, God damn it.
Stomp on his hat.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to grift in this town with everyone talking about it?
Yeah. So the further he could get away from the pesky Denver newspapers, the better. So he spent some time bouncing around the Pacific Northwest, around Seattle, around Tacoma, around all these places before he decided to head up to Juneau to see what it was like up there. Because it was kind of the first way you could get, So he headed up there, and under an assumed name, and he tried the soap racket. It failed. He was run out of town.
On a rail?
Not on a rail, but he was run out of town.
That's because everyone's already been fucking scammed out of the fucking gold rush.
Yeah. Well, the gold rush wasn't exactly in full...
dirty up in Juneau, Alaska. They're like, don't try to get us clean. We love being filthy. You get out of here, you idiot.
The gold rush wasn't it wasn't in full swing just yet. But he was discouraged, and he set off back down south, deciding that the north was a complete waste of time. One boat that he was on heading back south ran aground, and they were having to dig it out. But there was another steamer that was passing by, and they were like, hey, we're going south if anyone wants a ride, and he immediately booked passage on this ship. Problem was with that is that the captain of that ship was way too sick to order the raise of anchor. So they sat there for a while. Turns out, motherfucker's appendix burst.
Oh, shit.
Dead.
Well, and that's what everyone said. They were like, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And this guy's name, he's a legend in his own right.
Appendix Jones.
His name was Dynamite Johnny O'Brien. He was an Irishman.
Dynamite!
And he had
Dynamite!
he had
Threw that shit
sailed.
before I walked in the room.
Yeah, he had sailed the 7 seas.
Yeah.
This man had his own adventures. He's sort of a story for another day. This man, but he was the captain, and his appendix had burst, and there was a doctor on board, and he was like, "We can't operate on this boat because it's a boat, and we're moving around.
There's a fucking boat.
We gotta take you on land to do.
You're
this.
gonna die, so we'll just do one of these numbers, just flip you overboard.
Well, they
Fish
Call it a day.
And we're gonna call it even, yeah.
Well, they
Screw
went
it.
on land to do the procedure, and the only anesthetic they had for Dynamite Johnny
Whiskey?
was whiskey.
Hell yeah,
And
it
he
was.
drank a bunch of it. And as they're doing the procedure, he was awake the entire time as they're cutting him open.
So guys, you my
He-
appendix going.
He sang an Irish traditional jig as they did it.
You
and
got
he
to.
sang an Irish traditional jig as he died.
Look, guys, whatever you're doing right now, stop. Even pause the podcast right now, and I would like you to go and look up a picture of Dynamite Johnny O'Brien. This man's a tough man. You can tell by the picture. He survived the ordeal. He survived the ordeal. Because they told him no chance of living, and he lived.
And he said, "Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep going."
He was very weak, and when he got back to the boat, he could only sort of intermittently issue orders. But when he did, he goes, raise anchor, let's get out of here. And they're like, hey, we don't have enough coal to get back to Seattle. We have no coal to get back.
He's like,
and-
I'll fucking swim.
What he said was,
Strap the boat to my back.
he
Then
goes,
he accidentally swam to Ireland.
That's where he's naturally drawn.
he goes, when the tide is low, there's actually, in this very specific part, a coal deposit.
Oh.
So,
Wait, he knew that?
he saw it.
It's Cole.
Yeah, and so he ordered the whole crew to go and dig out this very low quality coal out of the low tide
Quality
surf.
coal's better than no quality coal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So over the course of a couple of days, because you can only dig when it's low tide, they loaded it up with a couple of tons of coal. A couple of tons, right?
Dynamite.
Would you say that he cashed in his Cole's cash?
Ah,
I hate myself.
don't hate yourself. That's great.
Now the boat moved on after that, but not for very long because the crew stopped working. They said, this coal isn't the best of quality, and we're all going to stop working until we are able to get new, better quality coal for this ship.
It's some shit coal.
Dynamite Johnny was like, no, you're going to keep moving. And Soapy, he's on board, and he's like, when the fuck are we going to get off the goddamn water? Jesus Christ. So, he went up to the captain's cabin, and he said, when are we leaving? And the captain told him, like, well, this is the situation I'm dealing with. I mean, these guys are bordering on mutiny. And so he goes, all right, I'll go up there with you. Go talk to your crew and tell them to move. And if they don't move, I'll deal with them. So that's what they did. They went up to the deck. He assembled his crew, and he said, "We're gonna keep going with the coal that we have."
And here's Soapy Smith. Tell you some
Well,
more.
Soapy Smith had his 2 Colt revolvers out, just out in his
Badass.
hands.
So I started blasting them.
And yeah. And the one guy that was sort of their spokesman for the crew, he was like, "No, we're not going anywhere until we get better coal and whatnot." And Soapy straight up took his gun, pointed it to the man's temple, against the man's temple, and cocked the hammer back. And the dude said, "Okay, never mind, we'll go."
OG motivation right there.
Yeah.
See,
In the movie, it's going to be Danny DeVito playing 30-something
Soapy Smith.
Soapy Smith.
He's gonna say, "I'm 30 years old and I'll blow your brains out."
I'm not in my fucking 70s.
Yeah.
I just like how he really got all Jeff Bezos about it and just really union busted that.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, he,
Yeah.
that was the Seattle City Council that he pointed the,
Yeah.
Colt 45 to.
Fuck your head tax.
Yeah. I don't want to pay taxes. So, a dejected Soapy Smith arrived back in Seattle. He actually spent some time in the Hotel Seattle.
Ah.
But he actually told his gang to move on. He didn't have any work for him. the country was in the grips of one of the worst depressions they had ever seen. He told them to move on. This was a very dark time in his life. Soapy moved over to Spokane, Washington, where he gambled, he dealt faro, he did a couple other things to make ends meet. He wrote letters back to his wife, Mary, because, again, she's still in St. Louis this whole time.
Right.
Soapy, at the end of the day, when he felt like he had enough money, even though he kept spending it at the faro and poker tables, he wanted to, like, retire with his wife and children in, like, a big house. You know, that was kind of his goal. Retire in a big house. But yeah, he sat there in Spokane, very depressed, until July 7th.
Most people in Spokane.
Yeah.
Until July 17th, 1897.
Oh.
Now, what happened on that day, gentlemen? What happened on that day?
The Klondike Gold Rush.
I mean, yeah. But that was when the Portland steamer came into Seattle with tons of gold aboard.
All these guys being like, I got gold in my pockets and also in my hat.
And then his
And in my hair.
eyes turned into fucking dollar signs. And you
They
just heard
did.
cha-ching.
Yeah.
So,
One guy's like, I have a baby, he's made out of gold. I had sex with my wife, she was gold, and then we had a baby, it was old Nuggets. This is my son Nuggets.
so
Son
Soapy,
is named
And his
Nuggets.
name was Ronald McDonald.
yeah,
Nuggets.
Nugs.
Nugs.
Nugs McGee. So Soapy realized, because of course the best marks are prospectors, he realized that everyone was going to rush up to the Klondike to chase this gold. And he frantically sent wires and letters to the rest of his gang all over California and Utah and Nevada and Colorado and Wyoming and Montana.
Did his
We got
best.
some dum-dums.
Yeah.
Getting the band back together.
He's
We
getting
got a
the band back together.
It's not going to be about the money this time. It's only going to be about the music. And by that, I mean it's all about the money.
The grift.
And also, I can't get my eyes to stop spinning like roulette wheels. As soon as I get this thing fucking locked down, we can go. But right now, it's just dollar signs. They're spinning constantly. I don't think that this is healthy for any adult or child.
To have dollar signs
Yeah.
spinning
The funny
in your
thing
eyes.
is, I can imagine...
That's not healthy.
We talked about how we could imagine Tom Waits as a prospector.
Yeah.
I can also imagine him as a grifter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, totally.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like that kind of...
I thought we agreed this was Matt Berry.
Well, yeah, but like Tom
Matt
Waits is sort of a carnival barker,
Yeah.
right? That's the kind of guy he is.
What about Matt Berry, Tom Waits, team up, grift a bunch of people?
Oh, yeah.
I'm
watch
watching
that.
I'm watching. And many returned to the Soap Gang. We had Reverend Bowers, Big Ed Burns, the Professor Turner Jackson,
The Rizzo, the
Dirty Bastard,
Inspecting
Raekwon the chef.
Yeah.
You got Ghostface Killer and the Method Man.
And
Yeah.
Wu-Tang was born.
Yeah. Ain't nothing to fuck with. And they had some new faces. They had Slim Jim Foster.
He's actually a big fat guy.
Yeah, no. He was a younger guy with like a fresh face so people could trust him.
Yeah, okay.
Slim Jim Foster. And the not yet famous magician and mentalist of the 1920s. You know those like paintings of like the magician, he has like the cards and like lightning coming out. That was one of these guys.
Like Svengali.
Yeah, his name was Alexander Conlon, and if you look him up, he was one of the most storied, famous magicians of the 1920s.
Is he the guy in SeaTac Airport who's doing a magic trick on the walls by the bar?
May as well have
In
been.
the Alaska terminal?
Yes.
He learned his sleight of hand from dealing 3-card Monte in the shell game with Soapy's gang.
Started out with peas and kernels of corn,
Yep.
worked his way up to, I don't know, monkey skull.
Well, to cold reading people.
Yeah, fair
like
enough.
that, you remember crossing over with John Edwards?
Yeah.
Right,
That's
yeah.
cold reading.
Yeah.
That's where you just say whatever comes to your mind, and somebody in the group is gonna fucking get it. So, you know, it's an
Somebody
easy
here
grift.
has a father. Somebody here has a father.
Name starting with D or E?
K. Kyle. Kyle. Do I get a Kyle?
Oh, he's here. He says his death was tragic. Anyway,
South Park did a really good version
yeah.
of it.
Alexander Conlon was one of the first people that were going around doing this kind of stuff.
Cool.
He was a mentalist. I can
the
tell
first
what you're
assholes.
thinking. Oh, yeah.
In American culture.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a shit ton of them. Now, their plan was not to get rich in the Klondike, but again, it was to mine the miners. It was to get their gold that
They're
they came
dumb
back
enough to
with.
think they can get gold.
Yeah,
They're dumb enough to.
and even if you got gold, they were gonna get it.
We're
They
gonna
were
get
gonna be
your
the
gold.
ones that were gonna end up with the gold.
It's a high
a great point.
concentration of marks, essentially.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
All
exactly.
of the-
They're all marks.
Yeah.
It's a world of marks. You know what I mean?
These guys are geniuses.
Yeah. Oh, this plan was genius. Now, especially considering that Dyea and Skagway were the gateways to the Klondike and didn't have official laws of any kind and no official police force, it was their own kind of gold mine.
Nice.
This is literally like everything that we were talking about, what we would do in this situation.
Yeah. You would open a bar and scam people.
Yeah,
That's what they did.
we're a bunch of soaps.
Now, they were up to their old tricks. They were leading stampeders off the boats. Remember when I was telling you? They'd get off the boat at, like, the Skagway Harbor, and they'd unload all their shit. And they'd get there. There'd be people standing on that wharf waiting for them.
Of course.
And they would lead them to raid card games.
They're like, these guys are so helpful.
Yeah, stick-ups and scams and all that kind of stuff. Like Reverend Bowers, this is when he did his, I'm trying to leave the Klondike, I just gotta get out of here. I have a small place. I'm trying to sell it.
reverend.
Yeah, and you're my brother. We're both We're both
Yeah,
Masons.
yeah.
We're brothers. And he's like, come, I'll give you a discounted rate. You're my brother. I'll give you a discounted rate. Come with me. He takes you to the place, and there's a guy in there that robs you. And he's like, I'm so sorry he robbed you, but I'm still trying to sell my place. See you later. Get
go
the
with
fuck
God.
out of here. Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And it's one of your friends, right? It's one of your buddies. But they would go up the White Pass Trail, Dead Horse Trail, remember. They would go up there, and they'd carry packs, and it would look like it was really heavy. But inside their packs, they'd just pack them with feathers.
Beautiful.
Jesus
And they would go up there and they'd pose as stampeders and they would scam people. And they would also run shell games and 3-card monte games up on the White Pass. The thing is, newspapers realized that Soapy and his gang were up in Skagway and they started reporting on it. And the way they reported on it is they called him the Uncrowned King of Skagway because he operated with impunity,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
Even though, like, Skagway was no more less or more crime-ridden than any other place, all the newspapers of all these places were in competition because the Seattle newspapers wanted to make Skagway seem lawless. And the, Skagway newspapers, they had their own agenda because everyone wanted people to buy their outfits there and not spend too much time there, right? So they were all in competition. So they slung mud at each other. And they used Soapy as mud, basically. Dawson was like, get here as fast as you can. Don't stay any time in Skagway. It's lawless.
Yeah.
So, like, that's how Dawson drew people,
Jeez.
It's all these people just trying to push and pull people. Everyone's running a scam at this point.
Yeah,
It's
so
the
it's
only
like,
way to win.
Yeah.
It's like at the end, I hate to go here, but it's like at the beginning of Dune Messiah, where the spice is flowing and everybody has the Dune Tarot. So because all these people are using the Dune Tarot to see the future, nobody can see the future anymore.
Yeah, if everyone can
Right.
see it, no one can.
Yeah, because they're all obfuscating each other's versions of the future, and it constantly moves the line.
Yeah, and everything's a scam.
Yeah,
so...
You're just getting scammed from all sides.
Yeah, I mean, the Klondike Gold Rush in of itself, you could almost look at as just a big scam by people trying to sell you outfits to go up there.
There's a core scheme, and then all these sub-schemes.
Yeah. Honestly, if you made it to all the way to Dawson, if you actually did that, like, unscathed, and did strike it rich, or even hit pay dirt, you were, there were so many people.
There's some kind of magic human.
Exactly. Like, you somehow were able to navigate all of this stuff and get away from all this stuff. Like, it's crazy the fact that people actually found money up there.
Yeah.
Most people found nothing up there.
Well, all the people who did find money up there found the money before...
Anyone came up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
first group that came back
Yeah.
They found money.
Yep.
Everybody
Right.
else
No
got
one else.
scammed.
So, like, there was money back there.
Everyone else gets scammed and they have to climb over a goddamn mountain
Yeah.
in order to realize they've all been scammed.
It's like
they're
all
getting-
those people that came back with money, they certainly didn't take back all the gold.
No. So,
People are stupid.
according to legend,
Cool.
the city's founders, Skagway's founders, came together and they formed a vigilance committee. And the vigilance committee was sort of different from they had a committee of 101. And that was just sort of to deal with the town's booming nature. You know, they didn't have government. Alaska didn't have any municipal government or anything like that. So it was all like people that were concerned citizens. They even called it a citizens committee. You know, business owners and things. But their biggest issue, like the thing is some people say that the Committee of 101 and the Vigilance Committee, that was all made up because of Soapy. That's not true. It was made up because there was people, there were people that were like, I have interests in the wagon road to the Klondike. And then there was people that were like, well, I have interest in building a railroad up there. And so there was this disagreement as to who had the right of way in Skagway to build further wagon roads or to build the railroad. The railroad ended up winning out. So they did it in the worst way by building a railroad straight through the middle of Skagway. It's in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
The railroad is.
Right.
In the middle of the street. There's businesses on either side. There's a street, and there's a fucking train that goes right through the middle.
Perfect.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was supposed to take you all the way up to Dawson, right? And it eventually
Monorail.
did, right? Like through the
Yeah.
through the White Pass. And the thing is if Soapy truly was the uncrowned king of Skagway, then he would have had some stake in this, because the thing is he profited more off of the wagon road. Because he set up his fucking shell games and 3-card money scams up on the White Pass.
If you're on a train, you can't get fucking
You can't get scammed.
Right.
Exactly. So he wasn't as in control of Skagway as the legend makes it out to be.
So what you're saying is he was never the darling of the so-called city fathers who cluck their tongues, stroke their beards, and talk about what is to be done with this Soapy Smith?
Yes. Where did you read that?
That's from The Simpsons.
Okay.
I pulled up the line.
Because it was the monorail.
Yeah.
No, it's the one where he gets the giant pile of sugar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
I'm not like you, Marge. I need the
Dizzying highs.
dizzying highs, the terrifying lows, the creamy
creamy
middles.
So a lot of Soapy's legend was built on tongue-in-cheek newspapers of the time. So when people like called him the uncrowned king of Skagway and all this stuff, a lot of that stuff was satirical and it was
Yeah.
joking around. If you lived in that time, especially in Denver, you knew about Soapy and you knew their sense of humor. Like when you read the newspapers.
Soup's
right?
doing his thing.
It was sort of onion stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people afterwards used that as sources
Oh,
and kind of
wow.
ruined history.
Yeah.
Because they totally bought it hook,
They
line, and
ate the
sinker.
Yeah.
They ate the onion. They bought it hook, line, and sinker, and thought that Soapy. They didn't understand the humor of the time and what they were doing.
Yeah.
Right. So there was some stuff that got blown way out of proportion with Soapy's character and what he was doing in Skagway. He was no king. He didn't do all this crazy shit. People didn't tremble when he walked by, as people would make you
He
believe.
was
That's how you sell news stories.
Exactly.
he was a popular, well-known huckster living in the area.
Yeah. Yeah. And he tried to keep his head down, too.
Too bad he wasn't.
He even paid money to keep his name out of newspapers.
Well,
Too
'cause-
bad he wasn't born now. He could have been president.
Yeah. We basically had one. And there's another thing, in Skagway, the same rumors sort of follow him there. Rumors of Soapy's generosity and charity. This all should be taken with a grain of salt. It's said that he helped build a church there. The reverend says, no, he didn't. But then again, is a reverend going to admit he actually received money from someone like Soapy?
No.
Probably not.
Right.
So is Soapy going to lie about building the church?
It could go either way.
It could go either way.
It's either a lie on that end or a lie on that end. Somebody's
Yeah.
lying.
Yeah, and there's, he put together a fund for a widow after her husband was killed. And the thing is he probably handed her $50, and that was that. But there's like legends that he got the town together, and he raised $600 for this widow. No, that's not true. He had a new headquarters, though, called just, Jeff Smith's Saloon.
Oh, it wasn't called, like, the soap dish?
I wish. He didn't like his name. He also, this is something super crazy. In the back room where, like, he held court, he had an eagle in a cage.
Cool.
That he named after Robert E. Lee.
Oh.
Guess which side Soapy was really on? I mean his parents were ruined by the
we
Civil
know
War.
We
Yeah.
know.
What's in the name?
Confederate.
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't like being soapy anymore.
Now
But you like being Jeff.
What kind of eagle? Bald?
It doesn't say.
Regular type.
It doesn't say whether it's a golden eagle
There's
or
a lot of
not.
eagles.
Probably bald.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I have no idea. Some even say that the eagle was stuffed. I mean, this is how crazy this story is. Like how you can't really trust anything.
He's got a mummy, he's got a stuffed eagle in a cage. Next thing you know, he's got a coke monkey hanging out in the back of the saloon.
With an organ
The
grinder.
monkey doesn't do the coke. The monkey just distributes it. He should be a, kind of like a provider monkey, not so much a coke monkey.
True.
I like to think it was a Steller's sea eagle. That's the kind of eagle they have at Woodland Park.
I want to say it was a golden eagle, but
It wasn't.
now the situation in Skagway escalated with a deadly shooting
Oof.
that has since passed into legend. So I've heard this story a lot of different ways. I'll tell you the legend, but I'm going to tell you the story that I think is most likely.
Is it like the OK Corral, where it apparently lasted for like 30 seconds?
Yeah.
I've never
It
been
is
in a
that way.
shooting.
Yeah. It's just the events and everything that goes along with it. There's different versions of the story.
Yeah.
Basically.
Sure.
Okay, so Andy McGrath. He liked to drink and gamble, and he liked the company of the so-called soiled doves.
Ooh.
The prostitutes. The sex workers.
Okay.
Pigeons.
That's what they called them back then, soiled doves.
I thought it was like people who like shit their pants.
If that's what you're into,
And then they
they
made
will.
love.
That's what you're into. And he was having a day of it, too. And he was drinking, he was gambling, he was having a good time. He went upstairs with the prostitute.
Yeah.
And when he came back down, he resumed. And he became violently ill. And he started puking. And as I pictured it, I way pictured like Steve Brule, like, what in the heck was in that whiskey? Because that's how this guy fucking did it. He accused the bartender of poisoning him.
He did.
He did.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's what it is.
He accused him of poisoning him. He then was
You're
like,
like, yeah, you bought poison.
yeah, he was like, where's all my money? It's like, dude, you've been gambling and drinking. You're, like, you don't have any money.
Yeah.
He's like, you've been drinking Long Island iced teas all night.
Yeah. You don't have any money anymore. And so it was way, like, the reason why I buy this story so much is that it just seems like something that still happens. Because he accused them of robbing him and poisoning him, and then he wouldn't leave. He wouldn't leave a place that he accused them of poisoning and robbing him. And they're like, okay, well, then get out of here, dude.
He's like, no.
And he's like, no, I'm not gonna go out of here.
Oh, God.
And so he was bounced. And he was bounced very violently. And of course, this
One
is
of these numbers, you can't see it, but I'm doing the.
He opened. They opened.
the hoist.
They
the-
opened the door with his head.
Yeah.
Right.
And he was all bloody and stuff. They beat him up.
You got to.
Yeah. And he's outside and he's yelling and he's pointing, at the sky, and he's like, I'm gonna come back with a gun and some friends, and I'm gonna get back at you. And they're like, whatever, dude, sleep it off, man. The owner of the place, owner being the guy that ran the place, Soapy, sort of.
Yeah.
He owned the place pretty much.
Right.
Although you couldn't find proof that Soapy actually owned anything. You know what I mean?
So we liked it.
He liked it that way. But they did a shift change. Because they were like, if he comes back and he doesn't recognize anybody, maybe this will tone down the situation, So, they warned everybody, hey, this guy earlier, we had to bounce him, but he said he was going to come back with some friends or a gun. He's probably just blowing off steam, whatever.
Right.
But just so you know, this is the case. So, like, you know, the new bartender, his name was Ed Fay. He's like, all right, yeah, I get it. And, you know, he had his gun on him, and he's like, all right, you know, if somebody comes back with a gun, you know, I'm going to defend myself, you know. And meanwhile, Andy McGrath he's walking around, he's all pissed off, and now it could have gone two ways. He either met up with the sheriff's deputy as the sheriff's deputy was finishing his dinner.
His soup.
Yeah, and he saw him, or the sheriff's deputy was on his way to his wife's house because his wife was giving birth to their first child.
Creating
Okay.
And
Creating drama.
And this guy shows up, and he's all beaten, and he goes, I need to borrow your gun. And he goes, oh shit, okay, well, let's go check this out, you know, like, because this guy claims, Andy McGrath claimed, that he woke up in an alley, beaten and robbed and poisoned because the prostitute slipped him a Mickey.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, I just doubt that's how it happened. I mean, not that I don't think that could have happened. I just think the other story of him coming downstairs and then puking because he was too drunk and then accusing everybody, that just seems way more real. I feel like I've seen that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We absolutely have seen that.
I've seen people do this, so I just believe this story more. You know, like, the prostitute, she already got her money. Why does she need to, like, rob him more?
Yeah.
That, like, the dude's been gambling and drinking all day. He has no more money left, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
I was robbed. No, you weren't, dude. You just blackout drunk, man.
Yeah,
You got blackout drunk and lost all your money.
Yeah.
it's a regular first time in Vegas, first time in Lake Tahoe type situation.
Yes,
where-
yeah. So they get back to the bar. It was called the People's Theater. They get back there. The new bartender's Ed Fay. And McGrath walks up to Fay, and he just punches him in the face.
Wow.
Basically showing, I don't give a fuck who's running the joint.
Yeah.
I'm getting my shit back, you know. And after he punched Ed Fay, he reached into his pocket. And that was the last thing he ever did.
Oh, shit.
Because Ed Fay is like, oh shit, his gun. Pulled out his gun and blew him away. Just boom, blew him away.
I mean, considering what he's been told,
Yeah,
at this
exactly.
Point,
Yeah,
I
he
don't
just got
blame him.
punched in the face.
Yeah, and
Like,
yeah, and the sheriff's deputy, his name was James Rowan. He goes, shit, and pulls out his gun, but Ed Fay just turns and blows him away. Because he didn't realize that he was a sheriff's deputy.
Oh no.
So he just boom, and there was a drunk that was asleep at a table, and he wakes up to gunshots, and he goes shit, pulls out his gun, and he's been drinking, and he just starts shooting around the room. He shot one just guy standing there through the legs.
God damn it.
Jeez.
There's a gunfight happening. People are running out. Ed Fay runs out the back door because people are shooting.
Yeah.
And, like, they're like, oh, he's running. Ed Fay's running. You know, he shot a fucking sheriff's deputy. And, like, people are mad, you know, as, like, things are starting to cool down because James Rowan is a new father. And James Rowan died on the spot. And they're like, we have a new widow who has, you know, this man had a child. And they were out for blood. And they wanted to hang this guy.
No, these
my
guys were
God.
straightening their ties with the
Yeah.
Wow.
No, the legend is that Ed Fay went to Soapy, and Soapy intervened and saved him from the noose. That's not true. Cool heads prevailed, and Ed Fay was taken to Sitka, which at that time was the capital of the Alaska Territory, basically. And he was taken back down to the south to stand for his crime. There's one story that says he was let off on self-defense. There's another story that said he went to prison. I've heard it a bunch of different ways. Anyway, people say that Soapy saved him from the noose. Again, it's just one of those things that says Soapy had more control over Skagway than he really did.
Right.
A lot like...
it sells a good story.
Yeah, and something I kept thinking about, like, as I was going through this story, like, remember during, like, the BLM protests, I had family from Idaho and friends from Idaho that were like, oh, that place is crazy, it's lawless, it's crazy, you
Right,
know?
yeah.
And it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
If you think about Skagway like that, that's exactly how Skagway was. Is that, yeah, stuff was happening, for sure,
Yeah.
But it didn't mean Skagway was lawless. It didn't mean this, all this stuff. They had the marshal paid off. They had certain people paid
Apparently,
off.
like, my parents told me, and this is just an isolated thing. I don't know what it says about everything, but, like, people asked my parents about Seattle after the inauguration, and they were like, oh, it must be really bad over there. And they're like,
no.
There's been nothing.
Yeah. And I love it when somebody tries to tell me what's happening in the
no,
city
that's
that I
happened to
live
me.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, where they're like, oh, it's a lawless, like. Also, I love that before the election, where they're like, I'm not going to vote for Biden because I like my cities to not be ruined. I was like, Trump's the president.
He was the president during that.
when this was happening.
Yeah.
How dumb do you got to be?
If you're going to blame
the next president,
if you're going to blame it on
happening?
any president, shouldn't it be the sitting president?
Well, and also blaming the.
Well, they stopped blaming the last president. I guess they're like, it's too close. We're going to get new president. Let's just blame it on him.
Yeah.
But also blaming the president for what's happening on the state level is kind of ridiculous.
For something that, come on. But again, if you're going to blame the president on something, on social unrest, wouldn't you blame a sitting president? So think of Skagway at this time as sort of in that way. That, like, Soapy was not nearly as powerful as they make him out to be. But the reason they do that is because it does make for a better story. Mm-hmm. Because Skagway, at some point, the lawlessness of the Wild West, the myth of the Wild West, has to be redeemed in blood. That's the myth of the Wild West. That lawlessness has to be redeemed through bloodshed by people that saw no better way to do it. You know what I mean?
You need a good guy with a gun.
Exactly. Yes, this is the myth of the Old West. It's not totally true. Anyway, because, think about Denver. They closed all the saloons and dance halls and told the bunco men to leave, and
they left.
Yeah, so, there's plenty of things. Anyway, but this was sort of at the height of Soapy's power, really. There was the outbreak of the Spanish-American War during this time, and Soapy wrote a letter to President McKinley, and he asked if he could form his own militia for the war, and so they could get government-issued guns and training and all that stuff, and he called himself captain. And the reason why he could call himself captain is because he appointed himself captain, but he also pointed to another story that is probably totally bullshit, where he offered our old buddy Porfirio Diaz a bunch of money to become like captain of some sort of militia and go down and help him. And Porfirio Diaz probably just didn't answer. Yeah. But that whole story is probably bullshit anyway. Anyway, he was a captain, quote unquote, of this militia. But the thing is it was never actually totally recognized by the United States. In fact, they don't list it anywhere. If you were to look for it, there's no official listing of Jefferson Smith as a captain in the military. Mm-hmm. But they had all the accoutrements to present this. So there was, a Memorial Day parade that it was said Soapy led, and a 4th of July parade that they said Soapy led as the Grand Marshal of the parade. None of that's true. He was in the parade, but he didn't lead it. He didn't lead the parade. In fact, there's a picture of him on his horse, quote-unquote, in the parade. But if you look at his surroundings, you notice that he's actually traveling south, which is back to the end of the parade.
To, like, the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's in the wrong direction. So he didn't lead any parades, and he wasn't in with the governor. He wasn't in with, like, the big people of Skagway. In fact, the leaders of that town, which is the Vigilance Committee, the Committee of 101, they didn't like Soapy. In fact, they posted something after all of this that said all bunco men and sure thing men and confidence men need to leave Skagway. And Soapy took it personally. And he instead formed his own committee of 317.
Bunco men.
Yes. And it was all his men. But he called it 317, not because he had 317, because some other sources say, like, oh, it was 330, it was 301, it was 302, whatever. But he called it 317 because the address of Jeff Smith's parlor in Skagway was 317.
Oh, jeez.
Right.
You're saying she killed 88 assassins?
I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think there's actually.
Nah,
88.
there's not 88 of them.
They just thought it sounded cool.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that he went from in a parade, and all this stuff. I guess there was a brass band, but they had no time to practice together, so they sucked, but it was loud.
Nice.
That's all they needed.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. But he was in a parade, and that was a thing.
Cool.
And it led to this more legend making. And it seems like the more we go in the Soapy story, the more shit is made up.
It's like taped together bullshit.
It is. By newspapers that are sometimes joking, and people whose accounts don't match up, and we're going to kind of get into that right here. The Soap gang really fucked up by robbing the wrong stampeder, the wrong Klondiker. He was coming back from the Klondike goldfields with a gold poke. You know what a gold poke is?
He got some gold.
It's a pouch of gold. That's a
there
gold
you go.
poke.
Okay.
So he had a poke of gold. He was going through Skagway, and there was a couple of Soapy's hucksters, including Slim Jim. They stopped him because they had heard that he had got some gold, and they posed as Eastern speculators looking to invest in people's claims. Mm-hmm. And they wanted proof that there was really gold. And he's like, well, it's back at my hotel. And they're like, go get it and show us. We'll wait here. And, we'll buy you drinks, dude. It's on us. You know what I mean? Totally on us. And he's like, okay, yeah, whatever. So he goes back and he gets the gold. Another one of their shills poses as like an old sourdough. Mm-hmm. And he steps in and he goes, he takes it and he goes, oh. He goes, yeah, I was told it was worth about $2,500. And he goes, oh, no. This is worth about $3,000. And he goes, honestly, sell to these guys because they're paying better prices than anyone else. And they're like, yeah, we'll pay you a markup, The dude's like, okay, he's listening. And the guy that was holding his gold poke ran out the back door.
Nice.
Okay.
And the guy panics and he chases after him. Dude's gone. And he goes back in the bar, same place he just was. Rest of the guys are gone. And he starts frantically asking around, like the bartenders and everyone else that works there.
You know that guy?
Do you see that guy? And they're like, are you sure you have the right bar? And he's like, I was just here. You saw me. I got a beer from you. And they're like, no, I don't remember any of that.
Fortes.
Yeah.
I was just here. We were all doing it. We were all having a good time.
We're gonna get this together.
This guy starts to make like a fuss, and he goes to the marshal. Marshal's been paid off by Soapy. He goes to the marshal, and the marshal's like, what happened? He goes, I gave my gold poke to an old miner guy. And he's like, what do you look like? He looked like an old miner. And as he was saying it, he felt really dumb. And the marshal's like, yeah, a lot of dudes that look like that right now. Maybe you should just go back to the Klondike and find another gold poke, dude.
Oh, Jesus.
And that guy's like, fuck that! I'm not doing that! So he starts to raise more of a stink, and the committee of 101, they knew that the marshal was paid off. So they start forming meetings and stuff, and they're like, what do we do about this? And they go to Soapy because he knew, they all knew that Soapy fucking had stakes in all these saloons and dance halls and stuff. They're like, we know it was your guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Give them the gold back. And Soapy's like, if the motherfucker lost gold, he lost it in a fair game of chance.
That's how life works.
That's how it fucking works. And he straight up goes like, again, I'm doing a public service. If someone's that dumb to lose their gold like this, then they would have lost it anyway. They would have lost it a different way. Why not me? I'm just, why not somebody else profiting off of them losing their gold?
Such a dick.
Yeah. And he got really salty about it. He's like, fuck that, dude. I didn't steal the gold personally. They're like, yeah, but you did. Yeah, they're like, yeah, but you did. And he's like, okay, yeah, well, whatever. But they started to having more meetings, and he knew that they were having meetings, and he started to getting more and more pissed off. And uncharacteristically, he started drinking a lot. Now, he got drunk a few times, and he was a mean drunk, but he didn't get drunk often. Yeah. And he was just sitting around, in his parlor getting drunk, and he heard that they were having another meeting. The Vigilance Committee of 101, were having a meeting down on the Juneau Wharf, and he wasn't invited. And it stewed and festered in him. He just got drunker and drunker and more pissed off. And so he was drunk as fuck, and he stood up and he picked up his Winchester rifle. He had his Colt on his hip and a Derringer up his sleeve.
You got to.
Wow.
And he's like, if they want a fucking piece of me, I'll fucking give it to them. If they want a war, I'll give it to them.
Right.
And, cocked his gun and, started walking down the street. And, his gang, followed him, but, far behind. They didn't want... They were, a little freaked out by him a little bit.
Dad's mad, but we need to see what's going on.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the business owners who was really friendly with Soapy, him and his whole family were friendly with Soapy, he tried stopping him. And he goes, look, don't go down there, dude. They're mad, don't go down there. And he, shoves him aside, and he's like, fuck that, I'm gonna go down. And the dude stepped aside, and he goes, if you want to get down there, and you want to fucking get killed, then go for it.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah, and so he keeps going down, going down there. Standing in front, sort of guarding the wharf, is one of the city's founders. His name is Frank Reed. And Frank Reed was the surveyor that sort of helped lay out the town. He was very respected. He was there, and he was like, you're not getting in, dude. And he goes, any of you goddamn sons of bitches, you're gonna get a fucking
You
bullet
some
in your head.
bitches.
Yeah, and people called it his last bluff. Because he was standing right there.
Right.
And there was a struggle. And the struggle has been conveyed in a multitude of ways. Literally a lot of different ways. 5 or 6 different ways.
One of them was a thumb wrestle.
Yeah, thumb war. But there was a struggle over the Winchester. Frank Reed pulled down the Winchester, and Frank Reed pulled out his gun and pointed it at Soapy and pulled the trigger.
Oh.
And it went click.
God. That's
Jam.
It was a misfire.
Old ass, that happens so much in
Yeah.
old ass guns.
Yeah, and
It's like the dude who tried to shoot Andrew Jackson.
yeah.
Right.
And Andrew Jackson beat him with a cane. As an old man. Soapy said, and I quote, the last words he ever spoke were, "My God, don't shoot." And then there was more struggle over the guns, and a couple of shots were fired. One shot went through Reed. There's a few different shots, but Soapy was shot through the side. The thing is everybody said, "Oh, Frank Reed shot him," and killed Soapy because Soapy died instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank Reed was also hit, and he died 12 days later in agony. And everyone
broken
was
heart.
Yeah, and everyone was like, "Oh, he was the hero of Skagway." But there was another man that was on the wharf that day with a gun.
Gunny McGunnerson.
His name was Jesse Murphy, and he was an Irish immigrant, and he was a day laborer. And he's so not well known that you can't even really find... You can't find him in census data, you can't find him anywhere else. But in the first, people that watched it, they wrote in their diaries that night that they saw Jesse Murphy shoot Soapy Smith. Because the thing is Soapy was shot through the left side, and, the Frank Reed's gun was on the other side. It would have been really hard to shoot Soapy on that side, you know what I mean, and have the bullet.
His head went back and to the left.
And have a bullet come out, And there was also an autopsy, and the autopsy said that the caliber of bullet was even wrong from Frank Reed's gun. But everyone just sort of settled on Frank Reed and said he is the one that redeemed Skagway. Blood for blood. He turned Skagway from lawlessness into a respectable city.
Did the guy ever get his gold poke back?
I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
Oh.
So the Uncrowned King of Skagway was dead. Soapy Smith was dead, and all of a sudden,
Good riddance.
law
Hey,
came.
that's me.
Law came.
Not anymore.
You became a horrible person, Zach.
Law
Power corrupted you.
Law came back to Skagway. But the thing was, if you look at the murder rates in Skagway versus Dawson or anywhere else, they're pretty much the same. Especially afterwards, they're pretty much the same. You know, all that stuff. It's a bunch of bullshit by the papers of the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
You can just say whatever you want.
Were they bad people? Yeah. They were bad people, but they had nowhere near the amount of power that they would lead you to believe. Now, the guy's gold poke, they did find it in Soapy's stuff, but they had spent some of it for him. They had to take a bunch of money out, you know, to pay for Soapy's hastily done funeral,
right?
Which only few people attended. And the minister that was presiding over it, you know, he has a famous quote that's, you know, the life of the transgressor is hard, you know, and then he called Soapy that fiend in hell, you know, and they buried him sort of away from everyone else in the cemetery.
So we wouldn't grift the corpses.
Yeah. They just didn't want the bad guy buried amongst them, basically. But now it's the most popular place for tourists to go in Skagway is Soapy's grave. Not so much Frank Reed's grave, even though, like, Frank Reed's grave is big. He has, like, this big headstone. Soapy has a wood headstone, and the original they've replaced.
I would imagine a wood one wouldn't have lasted this time.
And yeah, there was a bunch of graffiti on the original one, you know, and all this stuff, and they have it, you know, somewhere safe. But they have it, like, put up. Years later, on the side of, like, the mount, like, the rock face that's right in front of Skagway, some guys thought it'd be funny to paint a skull on the side of it and put, like, Soapy Smith on the side. And the legend is that, like, we got rid of our ne'er-do-well, and it was sort of a warning to anyone else. That's not true. It was a joke. Mm-hmm. And it's still there to this day. Oh. But yeah, like, the skull sort of, you know, was supposed to be, like, no more bunko men around here.
I saw the pictures.
Right.
This is what happens with bunko men when they show up in our town.
Yeah.
They become skulls. Piles of skulls.
Yeah.
Rock and roll, baby.
Each individual person becomes a pile of skulls. I have a skull gun.
Yeah,
turns them into skulls.
Yeah, no ribs, no spines, all skulls, all the time. and the inventor of that weapon's name was Todd McFarlane.
Yeah, seriously.
I giggled.
So
chains and bats and skulls.
So July 8th, 1898, the nefarious, the infamous Jefferson Randolph Soapy Smith was killed on the Juneau Wharf at the age of 38.
Wow. 38 years young.
Yeah. On the heels of his own legend as he died.
Wow.
I think that he deserved to die, and he should have died sooner.
Yeah, I think he deserves to die, and hope he burns in hell.
Yeah, you got it.
And if he was as good of a bunko man as he kind of fancied himself to be, he would have faked his own death and started a new operation somewhere else. And he didn't, so he wasn't that good. A good riddance.
Oh, maybe he did fake his own death. Maybe he's that good.
Yeah, maybe he is.
One loose end, though, his wife, Mary, didn't hear from him for a while. Because you just write to her and send her money.
Right.
And he told Mary, don't believe I'm dead unless you see my body. Like we were saying earlier.
Yeah.
You know, don't believe I'm dead unless you see my body.
He fell into the mist.
Yeah. And so Mary, after a few months of not hearing from him, gets worried and starts believing stories in the newspapers that Soapy's dead. So she spends all of her savings to take her and her son up to Skagway to figure out what happened. And she gets there and she's asking around and people are like, oh, she's asking about Soapy, you know, and like they don't want to answer and stuff. And she finally finds somebody that will answer, like the new marshal. They're like, yeah, he's dead. He's buried over there, and confirmed he was dead. And she's like, well, didn't he have assets? He had money that is lawfully mine. And she didn't want to seem greedy, but it's true. Like, didn't he have something?
Yeah. Right.
And they're like, look, we found a small amount of money in his case that was his, quote unquote, that had to be spent for his funeral, had to be spent for probate, had to be spent for a few other things, and gave her a very small amount of money. And they were like, see ya.
Pace.
She was penniless.
Jesus
She arrived in
Christ.
Skagway, realized her husband was killed, and they gave her like $30 and shoot her away.
She basically spent all her money to get there.
Yeah.
Oh, is this final
And-
grift?
Yeah,
He
and
grifted his wife.
well, and she's like, how am I supposed to get back home?
And all these guys popped out and they're like, I can show you the way back for a certain amount of money. And
Well,
you
most of Soapy's gang was rounded up afterwards.
Okay.
And arrested.
Probably
and
for the
they all did
best.
time. Yeah.
Get those guys off the streets.
Yeah. I mean, some of these guys were wanted for murder in some
Oh,
places.
you know Icebox.
Yeah. Icebox, Big
Ed
Big Ed
Burns.
Burns. He actually did kill somebody. She was like, how am I supposed to get home? Luckily, there was a guy that was captain of a steamship, Dynamite Johnny.
Oh,
Hey,
Dynamite
that
Johnny.
guy.
Dynamite Johnny became fucking the new husband?
No, he said, listen, your husband was really good to me in a time that I needed him most. And I will take you back to Seattle for free. That's the least I can do.
Dynamite.
Yeah,
Dynamite!
yeah. And that's the myth and legend of old Soapy Smith.
Oh, he threw that shit before I got in the room.
Louise.
Goddamn right.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, he was a bunko man, man.
I love a good bunko man, but at the same time,
When we hear the reality of a good bunko man,
Yeah.
you realize all the people that he bunkoed. And
we joke about how, like, there's a lot of times where you'll start talking about somebody and we're like, oh, he's an alcoholic. Cool, he's a cool guy. And you're like, no.
Yeah.
Alcoholics don't have a good track record, Chris.
Alcoholics, grifters, bunko men, most politicians.
Sure thing, man.
Yeah,
Confidence,
sure.
man.
Yeah. They're all a bunch of fucking
Everybody has an angle.
schemesters. Yeah.
Everybody has an angle. Keep that in mind. Like, that's something Soapy knew from that's something to really learn from Soapy.
Yeah.
Is that it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what you're doing, everyone has an angle.
Dude, I got
Everyone's
an
working
angle.
an angle.
It's going pretty well.
Yeah.
I got an angle. It's 45 degrees if you're my wife on a Saturday night.
Okay.
Doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Talking about the angle at my erection would point, it'd be straightforward at a 45 degree angle.
That's not what a 45-degree angle is.
Oh, wait, 90 degree.
Like,
Sorry, 45 degrees is way too low. Way too low.
I was like,
too
he's
high.
sitting. I was like, he's sitting down.
it's like I'm pointing at an angle.
Yeah, that's perpendicular.
I want a 90 degree. You want at least 90 degrees.
9 degrees is ideal.
Yeah. I mean, you could do
I
like...
can work with 80.
You need to get that 98 degrees.
I don't even know where we're going to go from here. We have so many stories to tell. I have a feeling
that's all the stories from history.
That's
Yeah.
all of history.
And that's history, folks.
We did them all.
and
Close
that-
the book on
Jerry
that.
just closed the book, guys. So
You heard it.
the show's over.
Yeah. That's it.
We're all going to go back to working at a bank or whatever we do.
I'm going to go, I don't know, slum it.
Yeah.
You know, live under a bridge.
We're going to start a new podcast, and it's going to be...
Bridgecast.
I'm gonna start scamming people.
Welcome to the scam.
I'm play
cast,
3-card
folks.
Monty under the bridge.
Who's going to go under a bridge to get grifted?
Have you seen under the bridges of Seattle right now? There's so many people down.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But
Probably
those
not.
are the grifters.
Yeah.
They don't have any money.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
why they're down there.
I bet you could find
We
some.
have a homelessness crisis in this fucking
I bet you
city.
could. I bet you could find some muscle and some operation down there if you
Yeah.
really
That's a
put
good
your
point.
mind to it.
That's a good
That's
point.
that's the American dream.
I'm going to go down to the bridges and hire me some muscle,
yeah,
if you know what I mean.
yeah. You could get names like Icebox Murphy down there. I'm sure.
Looking
Well,
for a guy.
they're usually Ice Vein Murphy.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
There's drugs.
On account of the drugs.
Yes.
Jeez.
We've got a huge opiate crisis in this country. Anyway.
It's not good.
It's a lot of crisis. Crises.
Thank you to the CIA and our
And
government.
pharmaceutical industry.
Yes, thank you so much for all that. Like, I'm just, I'm still kind of floored with how crazy this whole Klondike story ramped up to
Yeah.
Mr. Soapy Smith.
It was all leading to Soapy Smith.
It's pretty cool. It's
All paths.
I barely said soapy sales.
soupy sales.
Soupy sales.
Now you can't say soapy. You can't not say
That's-
soapy.
You get stuck with one or the other.
Yeah, you do. It's a sticky one.
The first time I tried to say Soapy Smith in the podcast, I said soupy sales.
Soapy, a.k.a. soupy, a.k.a. sales.
One of them had a puppet.
AKA
Hey,
Smith.
A.K. Smith.
Both of them had puppets.
Have you ever seen them in the same room?
It's a real Batman Bruce Wayne situation.
I was thinking Guy Fieri, Violent J from Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah.
Or
absolutely.
Bodacious Riptide from Smash Mouth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly.
The lead singer of Smash Mouth.
That's his name.
Bodacious Riptide.
Bodacious Riptide.
Yes. It's from a cracked article. So anyway, gang, we're the History Boys. I'm Christopher Whedon. I am a history boy. And that's all I have to say.
I am Tyler Armentrout. I'm a confidence man. I'm a flim-flammer. I'm a bojangler. Whatever the rest of them are. I'm
She's like
one of
a
those.
thumbdinger,
I'm
a Jim Janger,
a thimble walloper, and also like
an ear boxer.
Yeah, ear boxer, soup spangler, and the rest.
Yeah. A stew miner.
Stew miner. Now that I can get
Want to
into.
mine some stew?
Yeah.
Oh man,
Put a bone in there, you got yourself a stew, baby.
Yeah.
I want to mine some stew, and that stew is gonna be mine.
It's like the dumbest joke you've ever made. But it's funny.
Yeah.
You mean best joke?
Yeah.
I am Zach Meck, and like a piece of fine china, I am now covered in dust because of how long we've sat here. And I'm a history boy.
We'll get you at next Christmas.
Yeah.
We'll get you on it, yeah. When we have the family over.
Ooh. And I am Jerry Nash, history boy. Thank you so much again for listening.
We got 2 new patron pals.
Ooh.
We got ourselves Bronson, a.k.a. The Chronic Keeper.
The Chronic Keeper.
Thanks so much, Bronson.
Thank you so much, Bronson.
It's so fucking rad having you
Bronson,
on.
we love having you. Love seeing you on the Discord.
Oh, yeah. It's so great. And secondly, we got Jason.
Jason.
Kurtz.
Yeah.
Nobody shotguns
Kurtz.
a beer better.
Yeah.
Shotgun so many
can I-
beers with that guy.
Can I
would
tell?
make your head spin.
Can I tell a quick story about Jason Kurtz?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
No. I was working at Bumbershoot one year, and I was just navigating my way through the crowds, and I heard somebody exclaim, "Would anyone like a hug?" And then they emerged from the crowd, and looking around, and I, like right in front of me, like 6 feet in front of me, this guy emerged from the crowd, and it was Jason Kurtz, and I immediately gave him a hug.
That sounds like Kurtz. Nice. He's a huggable man.
Yeah,
I'd hug
he's
him right
amazing.
now if he wasn't in, I don't know where he is.
If I had my stuff with me.
Yeah, and by stuff I mean Jason Kurtz.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for becoming a Patreon pal, and thank
Means
you
a
for
lot to us.
interacting on the Discord. If you want to help fund this operation, go to patreon.com/historyboyspodcast, and you can join us on the Discord. We do a monthly hangout with the Beers with the Boys. We're always on there just making poop and pee jokes and talking about history. It's great.
I'm thinking about, I'm bringing this up live, but I'm thinking about changing the name to Suds with the Buds.
Ooh,
I like
that.
There's gonna be suds. There's gonna be buds.
You know, Suds with Buds, I dig quite a bit because I am a sucker for alliteration and a rhyme scheme.
And
I
buds.
also, and Puds.
Puds.
With a Z.
Suds with the Puds.
Anyone can show up. You don't have to have a pud to have suds with the puds.
No.
And nor will you see any puds at suds with the puds.
But you gotta be aware that we do all have Puds. Just flaccid, gross, like, tiny
Jesus
penises.
Christ.
I have a smaller mirror that's at a waist height, and I look at what I'm dealing with, and it's depressing. I deal with it every day.
I also want to say thank you to all those other podcasts that are very nice to us on
Follow that with Puds.
on social medias, particularly Twitter, the Time Travel Talks. Everyone involved with that are just amazing people. I just want to say just another thank you to them. They're very nice to us. All their podcasts are great. Honestly, we can be found. I don't know if a lot of our listeners know this, but there is a place to listen to us and a bunch of other indie history podcasts.
Tell them about it, Jerry.
It's called HistoryPods.com.
Oh.
Ooh.
And you can listen to a bunch of other podcasts that we know them, and we like them, and we support each other.
If you guys got the online, you go to HistoryPods.com and you check out all the different history podcasts that are floating around out there. And you can just, it's literally, you don't even got to pan for the podcast. You literally can just find podcasts right on the ground.
They're nuggets right on the ground.
Nuggets right on the ground.
To be scooped up.
And this gold rush is real.
Nice. Follow us on the Facebook, on the Instagram, on the Twitter.
Tell your friends, tell your enemies.
Tell your friends. Yeah,
especially your enemies.
Tell your friends just so, you and your friend have something to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you tired of sitting in the dark with your friends in silence?
Yeah.
You can talk to them about a podcast.
You can talk to them about us.
You're like, I spend 80 hours a week sitting in the dark with my friends in total silence.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have something to talk about.
It'd be nice to have something to talk about on our weekends out. Antiquing.
Are you dead serious about crawling out of this pandemic, seeing your friends, family, loved ones face to face, and fucking scared shitless that you're not going to have anything to talk to them about because you've been sharing everything on social media? And so you're going to get there, you're going to want to have a conversation, you need something to talk about, you listen to our podcast, you listen to the other podcasts at HistoryPods.com, and you take that information, and instead of saying, hey, have you watched this on Netflix, have you watched this on Hulu, you take that, you throw that in the trash.
Throw that in the trash. No one's going to listen to the show you want to fucking watch.
Yeah. We've all seen it.
All the TV shows.
Yeah.
Everyone watches those. And if you're not already watching that TV show, guess what? You're not going to watch it ever.
Yep. No.
So just listen to tell your friends to listen to a fucking podcast.
Listen to
better
us.
than any of these
Nobody
fucking
wants
shows.
to hear about your Big Bang Theories.
No, or your Young Sheldons.
Yeah.
Or
or your CSI Miamis.
Yeah, your old
what are the
Sheldons.
shows? I don't know.
All the shows on TV right now.
Dr. Piccolo MD on Thursdays on CBS coming up.
Yeah.
From Dragon Ball Z. He's going to be a doctor.
On 9...
My favorite dad,
9 o'clock
actually.
Central Time.
He's going to tell you to get vaccinated. Which you
yes,
should.
Get vaccinated, people.
My number 2 is 1 week from today, gang.
Good for you. I'm scheduled, so that's good. And of course, you can tell the world about us. And new prospective listeners, if you give us a 5-star review, wherever you listen to us at. You can tell the world instead of other people you know. Maybe you told all your friends and they're not interested, so you tell the whole world.
Get new friends.
Get new friends, because fuck those friends. Those friends are lame if they don't like us.
Move out of town, get some global friends.
Change your name.
Fake your own death. Change your name, move out of town, get some new friends, introduce them to our podcast.
Yes,
and then do that again and again until everyone knows.
Or to cut out the middleman, just leave us a 5-star review or whatever.
Yeah, you could do that.
Or subscribe and do all that stuff. That helps us out immensely.
I'm just saying, dude, like, my friend who he tragically passed away, all he ever talked about was our podcast, and then he disappeared. We don't even know where the body went.
No. I heard he changed his name to one of our names, and he's living our life in a different country.
Reconstructive cosmetic surgery in every 5 years, and looks like a different man.
And the one thing he didn't get reconstructed is his opinions on podcasts. He still likes the show.
He likes one podcast.
All right.
Before I forget, also want to shout out to Brandon and the guys over at Cold Storage. Go and check their DJ sets out every Saturday night at Twitch. Just look up Cold Storage, replace that O in cold with a 0, and every Saturday night at, I believe it's 8 o'clock Mountain Time, you can hear some super sick DJs spinning some awesome electronic music, be it drum and bass, house, techno. You got it. They got it. Whatever you want, they fucking spin that shit. Super good stuff. Check them out.
Love you, bye.
We've had a lot of fun. We'll see you next time. Or I guess we won't. Whatever.